It's time for Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook, dropping another lively package of all things Doctor Who from way, way, way back then, whichever stop and whatever decade it was that you jumped on for, to the right here and the right now, all in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans, and companions just like you. And with the production of further episodes of Doctor Who in turmoil and a star who may already have dipped, it's hardly an ideal background to the launch of Season 2 of All New Doctor Who now, is it? Ah, yes, another week in Geek here on Type 40 Live. There we are. You wouldn't believe the discussion we've been having before the red light kicked in and we had to go live and see you at the start of another week. Hello, everybody out there on X, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. Yes, get stuck in with the comments by all means. We want to hear about your weekend and everything you're looking forward to over the next few days too. So we're going to get cracking in a moment. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Have I said that? I don't think I'd said that. Pass me by. For a split second there. So yeah, where we're going to go this time? All over the place. We've got little bits of plastic to play with. We've got some news to catch up on from a certain global streaming platform, and lots more besides some fantastic pictures and great company too. Also gather round this very green TARDIS. Not sure what's going on there, whether it's the lighting or something else. I don't know. I have to have a general consensus of opinion when I bring in the rest of them. First of all, back after the weekend, to catch up with Charlotte Shields.
Hello, everybody. I was going to say, where have you found that console thing?
Well, there is a story behind it there. I was sort of claiming ignorance, but I know the story, really. I don't know why it's green. I mean, obviously, the original console was green, but it wasn't that green.
It sort of looks like, do you know, like Nickelodeon in the 90s, whenever they did kids shows? Like everything was that sort of colour green.
This is the same colour green that the wallpaper was on Rugrats or something like that.
Yes, actually, yeah, now you said that.
Balls.
Rugrats. God, that's one of the few cartoons I watched when I was a kid.
Yeah, I wonder why. We'll find out as the conversation goes on. But I love the original console anyway, and it's just nice to get a good look at it there. These are going to be images from Jana Monji there over on X, which could give you some clue as to the whys and wherefores of why they're up there in the first place. Who else is here? We have more. Also joining us too is our real life time traveler, Mr. Matt Pott. Hello, mate.
Oh, that's me. Hi.
And it's you. You are.
Yeah,
that
is me. I am.
Good morning.
Who am I? I'm Matt Pott. I am.
Yeah. What do you think they've been rubbing on the TARDIS to make it this green? Sort of fertilizer, maybe?
It's very leafy, isn't it? It's sort of. It looks like a mint, a choc mint.
Yeah, you said that in the chat just now, minty.
Yeah, it does.
Minty rather than lime.
Yeah,
we'll find out. We'll find out in a moment. I think he's wearing green as well. Our next panelist. Yes, he is. Sort of. Have you finished your Subway, Luke? Is it safe to bring you on?
Yeah. It's the St. Patrick's Day console, obviously.
Of course it is, mate. Of course. This is, yes. Of course, so he's back. Luke from Cinescope Pictures too. I forgot to give this a plug last week. How's your weekend been? I understand that there is some sort of screening happening soon, Luke, for one of your films.
Yeah, so Time Machine. Time Machine's pretty much. I mean, the Time Machine. You can see John Carley there, the War Doctor from Big Finish, who's playing H.G. Wells. In this one, he's wearing a time traveling bow tie and a tweed. Who's a bit of a menace and a bit of an idiot. What a surprise! But yeah, we've got it's. Hello, Peter. So it's been screened currently as part of the Liftoff Sessions Film Festival. It's got a couple more as well. I think we might actually be going over to Ireland potentially with Hooligans as well. So Time Machine and Hooligans will be going out to Ireland. The weekend was horrible. Wales got absolutely battered by England in the rugby, but it is St. Patrick's Day, and as we all know, St. Patrick was Welsh, so technically he was celebrating Wales today.
Really?
Come on, yeah, he was. Yeah, yeah, he was. Yeah.
Of course, that is the reason. That's the real reason why the TARDIS is green in honor of St. Patrick's Day. He said, "Is that convincing?" No, it's not. That's not the reason, everybody. There's a completely different reason, which sort of ties in to our final panelist on this edition of the show. Yes, he's our correspondent from across the Atlantic, tucked away in his game closet when he's not gaming. He's watching movies and or doing something arty. In fact, there's no end to the talents of Dr. Scott.
Hello.
Okay.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to all. Good to see everyone.
Have you got any Irish blood in your veins, mate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I told my wife this earlier. I said, you noticed I'm not wearing green today. And she goes, I know you refuse to wear green on St. Patrick's Day. So I do. I refuse. Sometimes I wear red just to, be
Deliberately.
fun. Yeah.
Book the trend.
I do. I don't like to blend in. I'm not like Patrick Bateman, I don't, I want
from American Psycho.
Yeah, I don't, I
Was he
want
Irish?
to blend in. No, I like what he said. He's like, I want to belong, or whatever he said in the movie. Like, I want. So yeah,
well, you absolutely belong here with us for the time being, Scott. It's good to have you back on the show. Our first catch up with you since Christmas. We've got a lot to talk about and some pictures to look at as well before we pull to open on more Doctor Who nonsense. We'll get to the comments in a moment or two, but I did want to look at the story behind this funky console. So you may not be aware of this, but maybe you are. I don't know, because when we pan back, we see that around the console, there are costumes of all of the Doctors there. And their faces set into roundels, such a nice touch. Yeah, I really like this. And this is an installation as part of an exhibition that has come to America at long last. Doctor Who Worlds of Wonder. Now, we have been following the progress of this over the last however long, because it's been in several locations already, but it's finally hit America, Scott. I don't know if you're aware of this.
No. First I'm hearing of it.
Yes, so it's I think it was most recently in Australia, actually, Matt. From
June it was in New Zealand, I believe.
Was it New Zealand?
Yeah. Don't get us mixed up, please.
No, sorry. June to October last year, that was. But as from Saturday just gone, March the 15th, it's at the Comic Con Museum in San Diego. And so this is the first, just the first of many wondrous sights there. The TARDIS bathed in St. Patrick's Day green. But it's just one of 8 zones that are set within this educational exhibition that they're calling it. The idea is that you can explore a selection of scientific topics as well as roam around a wealth of props and sets and various different trinkets and things from Doctor Who. So if you remember, this was I think it was Glasgow and Manchester, Charlotte. It's been all over the place, and we've sort of tracked it a little bit.
Yeah, I think some people saying Liverpool as well. It recently wasn't that long ago. No, I like this because I've said before, I've got very fond memories of the Doctor Who experience because I did go to that, and one of my favourite bits was when they had all the costumes. So I just love it when you can see like screen accurate or stuff actually from the show. And you just, as a fan, it's that being able to touch it and get close. You feel more, it's special that way. So I think these are brilliant whenever they can put them on.
You enter through the TARDIS there in time-honoured fashion, as they used to do at the Blackpool and Longleat exhibitions, which, God, I hate to think how long it was since they closed, Luke. It's probably before your time. But yeah, the Doctor Who experience closed probably 6 or 7 years ago. Actually, no, it was longer, but best part of 10 years ago now. And ever since, sort of what remains of the props and sets sort of being hauled around the world in this way. In all seriousness, although I do miss the experience, Luke, I like the fact that it's going out there for people who are overseas. I mean, did you ever get to go to the experience? And is this something that you've been keeping track of?
Yeah, so I went to this when it was in Liverpool, actually. Yes, only a handful of times I've been in Liverpool, and this was one of them. But no, I think when it first opened in Cardiff, the Doctor Who experience, not the exhibition, I think I was the second or third person there. You can find a video of me on Wales online. when it first opened, me with like a Justin Bieber haircut, looking like a Beatle, being like, "Oh yeah, Doctor Who." But yeah, no, yeah, I thought the experience was great. I was at the exhibition when Russell talks about it in The Writer's Tale when he has like an anxiety attack and too many people turned there to turn up. I was there for that as well. Yeah, the Blackpool one was great. I absolutely loved the Blackpool one. I thought it was great. But no, it's nice to see. Because I thought they would have sold all of this off, really, with everything else that they're selling off. So it's a pleasant surprise to see. I completely forgot about it. So it's a nice surprise to see that some remnants of Doctor's history are not actually being sold off to private investors. So that's private collectors, sorry. So that's really, really nice to see. So long may it
No, I
continue.
agree.
But
I have been a little worried about the amount of costume sales I've seen recently. Matt, have you seen those too?
Yeah, I have. But I wanted to know how much of this is actual genuine props and everything from the show and not recreations. So
Some of them
yeah, no.
are refurnished, aren't they? I mean, we're looking at the Cybermen helmets and things there. I think a couple of those are authentic, but not many of them. Whereas they do have the robot from the giant robot, from Robot. That's there, which I think was heavily restored. It's basically the same prop, but
that was at the BBC for a long time, wasn't it?
It was. This is the Monster Vault, which it says features many costumes and props, including Daleks, Cybermen, and Weeping Angels. And there's the giant robot and Canine in their cosmic curiosities. There with the robots of Death Mask and handles and various sites like that, as well as some of the more gruesome things that you get to see up close there. That was the creature from what was that story called?
That was Time Heist.
Time Heist, yes.
I only talked about it the other week.
It's one of my favorites.
There he is up close. He's a good-looking bloke, isn't he? Yeah. Yeah, so this is the joy of it, isn't it, really? Because it's not just the kids who are really into Doctor Who, but in all seriousness, it's the kind of people who may want to get into the industry as well, who can see some of these prosthetics up close and maybe get an idea about how they could achieve similar results themselves. And then there's this sort of scientific angle that they're quite keen on. Here's a Weeping Angel and the Ice Warrior Queen, an Ice Warrior, a Sontaran. I think that's a Sontaran from the Chris Chibnall run as well.
Yeah, it's that sort of grey colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
One of the Sea Devils from Legend of the Sea Devils, and an Orphan 55, whatever that guy was, I think. Really embarrassing.
Are you
one.
serious? They put that one in. Oh my god!
Yeah, so it's all there. There's also a time vortex corridor, a Dalek voice simulator that you can turn yourself into a Dalek with, and various other things. The TARDIS tech room, collections of sonic screwdrivers and other gadgets, as well as a shop that sells its own exclusive merchandise. So this is out in San Diego, Scott. That's quite a distance from you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's on the other side of the country from me. So, and I've kind of made it a kind of like a battle cry. I will never step foot into California whatsoever. So, I mean, sorry, Californians, but it's your fault. I will never come there.
It's interesting, though, I think, Scott, that they're blending the sort of real life science with the worlds of Doctor Who in that way. I mean, obviously, things like time travel. That's one thing, but cloning and artificial intelligence and things like that, they're very much a reality of the modern scientific world, aren't they?
They sure are. Oh yeah, and it's interesting and scary to think where we're going to be 20 to 30 years from now as well.
I'm not going to be around.
Matt's planning ahead.
That sounded more like a promise than anything else there, Matt. Wow.
That's it. I'm checking out. Where's my coffin?
Hello. That's why I don't care about climate change.
I understand that what you're saying about authenticity, Matt. I understand that most of these costumes of the Doctors, particularly the first three, there's parts of them which are authentic. Others have been sort of built out to completion. Like I think the Tom Baker one, because I've seen, if these are the ones that were at the experience, I know that they've had to sort of augment them in various ways. But it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as the general effect is sort of simulated, that you're in the presence of greatness sort of 12 times over.
I wonder if they actually had real celery and they have to change it every day on the Fifth Doctor, or did they put a stalk of fake, or what did they?
It's fake. It's made. It was made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this looks pretty cool. And the blurb says it's been created in close collaboration with the team from BBC Studios, along with advisors specializing in a broad range of scientific topics. It describes itself as inspiring, interactive, and all-encompassing. Has Russell T Davies written this blurb? My God. But yes, it promises the world, everybody. It says it's a must-see for families, school groups, Doctor Who fans, and those with a curious mind. Tickets can be purchased at the museum itself, the Comic-Con Museum in San Diego, or at on the door, and they include admission to the entire museum, which is open Thursdays through to Tuesdays from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. So you've got a good chunk of time there to go and get worlds of wonder if you're in that part of the world. And who knows, Scott, if you speak to them nicely, they may take it over the other side of the country.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, depending upon where it's at, I'll go see it for sure.
Good man.
Oh, yeah.
Good man. But I wanted to ask you about this, though, Scott, because I know that you are, in all seriousness, you are kind of a jack of all trades, aren't you? There's nothing that you won't try. So when you see the props and costumes and the sets and things like that, is that something you're particularly interested in? Because you are quite handy and you have built Doctor Who props in the past, haven't you?
Yes, I have a full-sized TARDIS, and I actually in my living room I have our card box, which I call the TARDIS, and it's about it's about 2.5 feet high. And
you sent me this picture last week, didn't you? Because you've been down to a storage unit that you've got.
Yeah, it's about 2 miles from my house, and it's been fully assembled here for the last 3 years, and we're about to move it to a smaller unit. And then a friend of mine owns a shop here in town, and they have a vestibule. And the unfortunate thing is where the vestibule is, when you enter, there's a slight incline. So I have to build a little pedestal, if you will, so I can make it level. Otherwise, it'll be sitting on a slant like this before I take it over there. But it's going to be in his vestibule, for the foreseeable future. And I'm sure that once it's lit up at night, especially when the store is closed and people are there'll probably be people rear-ending each other, with their cars going, there's a TARDIS in there, So, yeah. But I actually wanted to build a Dalek at one point, and or even Davros's chair, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to.
So you built this with your own 2 hands? Yes,
my best friend and I, we built that. It was it'll be 12 years ago this year, because I built it. I actually built it for my wedding, so that was actually for the reception. We had the whole Doctor Who wedding. There's the TARDIS right there, yeah. And
I can't believe how authentic it looks, particularly the color.
The lights work. I have it set for remote control, so the light on top will come on, and I'll actually make the noise. There's a speaker. Well, when I set it in there from inside, and then yes, that's Subaru blue, as I mentioned to you before, and I really did a lot of research. I actually almost went and bought the actual Subaru blue color, and I said, you know what? It's very expensive, so I matched it up the best I could. And I went to Home Depot and I said, yeah, give me this color. And they're like, all right. And it turned out great. And then I sprayed it on. And when I did spray it, though, I made sure that the way that I applied it, I had to make sure that the paint was thin enough so it would stain it as opposed to coat it. So that way you could actually see the wood grain, just like you could see it on the actual thing.
Incredible job. Are you handy at all, Luke? Is this something you've ever thought of doing? One of your productions, maybe, or just for pleasure?
No,
either missed this or something.
No.
Pain.
I can use a camera. I cannot put a desk together. Like, oddly enough, I did used to have a full-size TARDIS, and this is such a weird story that no one's going to believe. But I did used to have a Dalek and a TARDIS, but they were haunted, and I had to have an exorcism done on them.
Who was haunting them? John Scott Martin? Elimination.
John Barrowman just getting his chap out every 5 minutes.
It's me, Anthony Ainley. Let me
hello.
out of here.
just wouldn't leave his hands alone.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I used to have the Dalek in the TARDIS. I bought it from Jacob's Antiques where they shot like Victory of the Daleks, for example, the underground stuff with Ian McNeice, and I was a soldier on one of those episodes. Well, in that episode, yeah, I had it's a weird story. But I woke up one night and the Dalek was spinning by itself, and the TARDIS doors were flying open and shut. And there's a long story about it. But
were any mushrooms involved in this?
No, not at all. I'm not the one that spotted it. I got woken up to it, and I got out of bed, and I was like, "But say, can you stop?" And then it instantly stopped, and then the next day I had an exorcism done, and ever since then it was fine. I think the Dalek did move on its own, and the TARDIS doors were flying open.
Luke, I am your devil.
You had a polite demon basically in your house.
I did. But the Dalek's now up in Scotland. The Dalek, I shipped it off to Scotland. I don't know where the TARDIS has gone, actually, ironically. I can't remember. But
probably to hell.
The Dalek is up in Scotland. Yeah, so it was
hell.
Halloween 2010. So I would have been 16 then, roughly, I think. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun Halloween. There you go.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it sounds like quite a story. I'm not quite sure how much to believe, but you know what? I think a good story.
That's 100%. That's 100% true, Les. I'm not
be warned,
like
then, Scott. If it can happen to this guy, it can happen to you. I mean, just another fabulous picture here of you looking very proud.
Oh yeah, I was. I was quite smug. So we've had a lot of fun with that thing as well, because I rented it out for a couple of different weddings. And my daughter, we filmed one episode for her little videos that we do for a different channel, and I try to keep my face obfuscated as much as I can if I'm in a video, or you don't see my face at all, because I want it to be about her and her bunny. And so I was actually playing the Doctor, and then you actually see her go inside the TARDIS, and I had the green screen in there, and it's Peter's TARDIS. And she goes in and she gets the scarf and brings it out. She goes, "Oh, I almost forgot my bunny." And she hands me the scarf, and she says, "Here you go." And I go, and I'm doing this bad accent. I'm like, "Oh, the scarf, really, the scarf." And then she says, "Do the voice," and I do a very convincing Tom Baker, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm not going to do it now because I can't do it live." And so I do this Tom Baker voice, and it was just a fun little episode that we did with it, and but we've had fun with it. But the thing will be, though, once I put it in the shop, I'm putting a QR code on it, because if somebody wants to buy it, it won't be cheap. But if somebody wants to buy it, they can. Because I kid you not, because sometimes people don't understand the value of something, and I don't mean sentimental, because you can't sell sentiment, but just the little pull that's on the one little door there for the phone. That pull itself, it took me forever to find it, and it's nickel plated, and that pull was like $15 all on its own. And the hinges in that thing, there are 6 on the front and there's 6 in the back, because it does have a back door like Colin Baker's. Okay. Yeah, so that's how we entered when we did our little skit at the wedding. Nobody knew that we were actually getting into it. So, and it blends in, nobody can see it. And it's like I have 12 hinges in the things. Well, hell, the hinges are like $8 a piece, and it's like, "I'll give you $100 for it," and I'm like, "Get the hell out of here! I don't think so." I mean, it's solid wood, man. It's
a great way of including Doctor Who in your big day as well. This is just one of several pictures that you've got, I know, of little bits and pieces that you had scattered around there with yourself and your good lady wife's names atop that smaller box. Yeah, I'm in awe of people who can do these kind of practical things, Matt. As an arty type, you're probably like me and desperately impractical.
Yeah, I can't do things in in full 3D. I can't.
I can't either.
I've tried sculpture, and I tell you what, it ends up looking like a lost turnip or something. It looks awful.
The fun thing about that one, though, about the little card box, was my best friend couldn't come over the one day to help because it really was a two-man job, and if there was something that I could do, I would do it. But so the one day, and my dad, he was in and out of hospital at the time, and so he wasn't able to help. And so I said, "What am I going to do with myself today? I have idle hands, devil's workshop." So I had all this scrap wood, and I just started building the card box. And within about 3 hours, I had the card box like 90% built. And then another friend of mine stopped by, and he goes, "Need any help?" And I go, "Well, no, I think we're done for today." He goes, "What the heck did you build?" And I said, "Oh, it's going to be the card box." So I had to build something. So when the TARDIS goes bye-bye, if it ever does, I still have that. So
I tell you what, mate, it's very impressive, and sincerely, I wish I could do things like that. It's really is quite a skill. So more of that later on, along with a number of other things that are coming up on this edition of the show. If you're in the comments section, we're going to hook up with you now and see what's been on your mind and what you think of Scott's handiwork there. But before we do, I want to remind you that you can get us in your ears as well as before your eyes on the Type 40 podcast, available across all major podcatchers: Audible, Spotify, Amazon Music, all those places. We're at type40.podbean.com there for our home feed to get everything, the past, the present, and the future on the Type 40 podcast. Let's go and see what everybody else is up to in the live chat and what sort of a start their weeks have got off to here, shall we? Let's go and see what's going on.
Now, I suggest you start watching Type 40 because I can't. I've got to watch this little blighter.
Thank you, Scott.
he was
Okay, who's here first? Who was here first? Go right the way back, and we see that Domgo joined us in the live chat there, watching on YouTube almost from the get-go. And Boomer Doug's here too. Good to see you, Boomer Doug. Matt Pot, 4 times T's with 1 P.
That's right. Don't get it wrong. No S's.
Good to see you, Doug. We have, who else is here? I've got Lord Thoth there in the live chat as ever, along with Adrian James and Stephen Braddock. So same old faces, but very, very welcome. Scott, that's you. You were in too. Good man.
Yes, I was there just for a minute.
And Shelley
Hi,
Ingle
Shelley.
is there as well. We've got Sentai Ranger Danny also here too. Talking about the Power Rangers franchise, you carry on, you knock yourself out.
I'm still amazed he's in our chat. Like, we love him, but I'm amazed.
Well, he seems to have a good time. Whatever else, drop the mind, says Lee Smith. Drop the mind. That sounds like a slogan on some sort of poster that you'd see in Inferno, one of those stories, Matt, or some Nigel Neal teleplay from the 60s or something.
I remember Drop the Dead Donkey.
Drop the mind. Drop the dead donkey. Drop the dead donkey. Garbage is in too, yeah.
Hello,
and
Garbage.
so is the Zero Room with the fabulous new ornate icon. Ezra Goldstein's back as well, as is Peter Harrington too. And who else? Nicholas Horton. Yeah, and we've got the retro doc Gary Akers there in the live chat. Hi, Gary. Good to see you, pal. We also have Tom in too, taking a break from model making to say, hi, everyone. It's the last week of Pisces the Fish. I'm making Tufel, the fish from Stingray in 1964. Tufel. Is that how you pronounce it, Matt?
That's the king. No, that's their king, isn't it? It is the King Tufel.
Remember?
Yeah. He's got to face in direction, or otherwise you die.
Stephen Braddock's had the day off, so he's watched the Blu-ray of Doctor Who and the Silurians, the best it's ever looked, and I loved it. There you go. So I'm pleased you're enjoying it. A lot of people have had that Blu-ray set. Scott, do you buy the Blu-rays? I can't remember.
Blu-ray sets, but I still need to get the classic Who because I have a bunch of them in my queue on Amazon and I haven't pulled the trigger yet. But I've got the Peter Capaldi sets and I've got the I think it's the David Tennant set on Blu-ray.
We have people who have been to the Worlds of Wonder in Liverpool. So you're quite right. Why did I think it was Manchester? So we'll getting those two places mixed up yet again.
Don't do that, Dan. Jeez.
Anthony's in the live chat as well. Anthony Wayner, good to see you, Anthony. And Super John 2, who says it was painted that shade of green so it could show up more on black and white tellies back in the day. So the original TARDIS console green being that sort of light green, which we've spoken about several times, I know, but I think it looks fabulous in green anyway, to tell you the truth. It's funny, isn't it? When you're a kid, you look at it, you just assume it's white, and it will always be white. It was meant to be white, was painted white. And then you find out all these technical things behind it. Heretic is in the live chat as well. Good to see you too, mate. And lots more people besides as well. A few people celebrating St. Patrick's Day, I think. So an Irish friend. They're still celebrating. An Irish friend of mine has got American citizenship, said Heretic, and recently she was saying she hates it when people over there call it St. Patty's. So Patty's always reminds me of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Zero Room asks, did your clocks go back in the UK last night? No. Soon, though. I think they go back soon. But we'll let you know.
Soon, yeah.
Same with us.
Go forward, don't they? Spring forward.
Yeah, spring forward. Yeah, we went back last week, and that's why I was an hour early to the show. So, whoops.
He was. What else have we got here? Super John said, never got to see all those costumes in Liverpool. Just the David Bradley First Doctor costume. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I can't remember the costumes there either. The more I think of it, I was like, no, as soon as someone said it, I remember from the experience. I must have merged the two in my mind. I was like, well, yeah, I don't remember. I remember seeing the original Ice Warrior, though. That was cool. And $50.
Could be that they had limited floor space there. We've got a comment here from Philip Roy, who is from Philip from Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, which is out, I think, sometime later this year. It is the Year of the Scorpion. Remember, everybody, the Year of the Scorpion. But Phil was also in Day of the Doctor, so he would probably know about this. Cool. He says that looks like the costumes there at the Worlds of Wonder in San Diego, those were the costumes we wore in the 50th special, which were ported over from the Doctor Who experience. So that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Was Phil in the 50th anniversary? He never mentions it. Oh my god.
Well, yeah, you can get the whole story when Phil talked to us on the Type 40 podcast the first time he came on. He tells the whole story. I suspect that Luke could be being sarcastic.
Yes. You should talk about it more. Joking, I love you, Phil.
The Worlds of Wonder was a cracker, says Peter Harrington, and lots more of that kind of thing. People seem to have enjoyed it. I love the giant robot, says Domgo. Everybody loves a giant robot. I've got one right behind me on the shelf there. Yeah.
We had one Russell T. Davis comment towards me already.
You've done well so far.
Only one. I'm like his little brother because all Welsh people sound the same, apparently.
We'll have to get a swear box for the Russell T. Davies comments, won't we? Hello, everyone, says Dalek Lives Matter. Hello, Dalek Lives Matter from everyone. And Terrified Monk is in the live chat too. I'm not even sure I understand that comment. Just welcome.
Is Fruity's costume a pair of tighty whities?
Oh, it's Shooty's costume.
Yeah.
Your guess is as good as mine. A good evening, fellow fans from Mosh, and lots more like that coming in as well as people discover that we're on today. Yes, great panel today, says Lord Thoth. Who could possibly argue with that? We're bringing out the big guns in light of the fact that Doctor Who is back in under a month's time. Saturday, the 12th of April, there on the iPlayer and Disney Plus. The return of Doctor Who with all new episodes for 8 weeks.
Yay.
Coming thick and fast. Before that, of course, we do have plenty else to talk about, to get stuck into, not least of all the fact that this is yet another anniversary in the Doctor Who calendar, coming up in just over a week's time, the 20th anniversary of new Doctor Who there. And the meeting of Rose Tyler with the 9th Doctor, don't think that we're going to leave that uncelebrated here at Type 40 as if we would. So don't miss our coverage, our celebration of everything that happened all the way back in 2005 there. That's coming up. Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. Okay, what's next and who? I think him and there and that. Yeah, people have been mentioning it in the live chat already. So let's get stuck into it.
This is Philip Roy playing the Doctor.
And I'm Mandy Rose, and I play Jenny.
For the Doctor Who fan film, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, this is the Type 40 podcast.
Yes, the third incarnation of the Doctor was quite the expert on plastics, wasn't he? Had a couple of high-profile run-ins with the Autons, but they finally got him in the end, it seems. They've got him. They've secured him, and he is once again encased in plastic. Character options have revealed the first Doctor Who exclusive of 2025 from them, and it's a new treatment of John Pertwee's Third Doctor. I mean, you'd think we've seen, how long have character had the license now? Like 20 years, pretty much. 20 years. And it's drifted, hasn't it, from being a line of merchandise that was available in every branch of Toys R Us and lots of supermarkets all over Britain, now to being somewhat of a collector's thing, I think. But that did mean that it opened up the entire history of Doctor Who to be turned into bits of plastic. So all those sort of fantasy figures that we wanted when we were kids, Matt, we sort of get them all now if we're willing to pay the considerable price that these things cost, that is. So yes, they've launched this brand new year's worth of exclusive online memorabilia, I suppose you could call it. The Vortex editions that they do with this new Third Doctor. And here is their video, their promo video, which I don't think, have they done a promo video before like this? I'm not entirely sure, but we get a good look at everything here. I don't know if you've caught this yet. So there's the pack shot, as they call it, very seductive, and a nice scroll down of a wall of text. Very good. What's that? All the accoutrements there on the Doctor's smiling. It's very seductive, isn't it, when they do this? Makes you want to reach out and touch you. I suppose that's the point.
Yeah, that Sonic looks fantastic.
I was going to say, I'm used
The
to them
Sonic
doing
looks
like
great.
tiny ones, but that's a proper life-size version, which is quite good to get with your figure.
Good action, as Alan Partridge would say. No, I do like it when they do this because, in all seriousness, you know, you don't know until you get them out of the pack, do you, how these things work and how flexible they are.
Yeah.
Accessories, Scott. A little grub. A maggot.
It even has
Yeah.
teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, the face is good because sometimes the face's God-love character can be a bit dodgy.
I've heard there's actually been a few complaints about the grub. Apparently, some of the grubs are straight. They come out
Yeah, I've
straight.
heard this. Yeah.
Okay. Some of them are
They're
malformed.
quite erect. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Third Doctor and Sonic Screwdriver Vortex edition. It's the first of 5 Vortex editions. God, that sounds terrible. They're putting out through 2025. And what a beautiful pack that this comes in. I find this range of merchandise very, very frustrating to get sort of involved in. Not only are they very difficult to find, but when you do find them, they can be quite expensive. And anything that goes online first, obviously, it's a first come, first served setup, isn't it? So you can sort of get built up for something that you really want. And if it comes to ordering them online, quite often we have to miss out, don't we? So is this the kind of thing that you would collect, Luke? Have you got a character options sort of shelf in your den there?
No. That was really quick. No, I obviously when I was younger, I was at the age where I remember going to Toys R Us and seeing Doctor Who absolutely everywhere. Oh, I just had confirmation Hooligans and Time Machine is going to Ireland for May the 4th Film Festival. So there you go.
Congratulations.
But I think the last character options anything I had was given to me by Mr. John Carley, and he gave me who happens to be by my desk. It's like I planned this. It's a little Paul McGann. So his predecessor, his in-canon predecessor. So that's I know. To be fair, John got me the Imperial Davros. He picked that up for me in one of the B&M ones. So yeah, what a great way to celebrate the season 7 Blu-ray by releasing a season 8 John Pertwee. It's fantastic.
Well, yeah, there is that. Just one season out. It does seem to be that at the moment, Matt, it's all about the third Doctor. You've got the Blu-ray set of season 7, and you've got the Doctor Who magazine 1970 Bookazine special, and here we are with this new Vortex set. So that looks quite right. It's an entirely new head sculpt based on his early appearance in 1971, specifically the demons, and the costume that this figure is wearing is an exact duplicate of the one from the demons. And it boasts here in the blurb, it makes use of a high specification decoration. And an effort has been made to get the likeness a little more, a little warmer, I think, the facial expression. So these are pictures from the collector, our friend of the show, and Doctor Who merchandise collector, Ian O'Brien. He's put the two side by side, and you're quite right, Charlotte. That's quite a difference, isn't it? He's a little less hawkish than once he was, isn't he?
Yeah, but I would say you can tell that looks more like John in the face. They've definitely rounded it, like you said, they've made it a bit less intimidating, because we've always said this John's got a bit of a look that can be quite hawkish. So I feel like they've softened him, but I would say the eyes actually are really good for that. They really make me think of John's actual eyes.
Yeah, his eyes are a lot softer shape-wise, but the irises themselves are larger too. So it's a lot more approachable.
You got to remember too, technology has changed to the point now where they can actually get photos and turn them into 3D models and and literally scan them and then make them into the full 3D, and they can do them from 3 inches right up to 20 inches. And they'll look exactly the same. So the technology has totally, you can really tell the difference between the two. And I mean, even with the skin tones, totally different.
Because obviously John Pertwee was in that part for 4 or 5 years. He had many different hairstyles, didn't he? The bouffant went through various phases before it got really sort of big, in the same way that Capaldi's hair changed. And yet, certainly the figures that I've seen up to now, they've looked largely the same from the neck up. So it's good that they're doing this. And it's nice that they're sort of refining their line of merchandise. And for the collector who thinks that they've got everything, because there are people who collect every single one of these, every variation of it, then it's something extra sort of to milk them for, isn't it? To drag more money from their wallets. But yeah, as you say, Matt, technology changes all the time. I've noticed his chin is quite a lot different too. So there's probably lots of little differences, just in a way to make it that touch more as lifelike as little bits of plastic of this size can get. So yeah, even the cloak apparently uses a new technique to make it look almost metallic, to give it that sort of silvery purple lining that's so distinctive from the demons itself there, all the way back.
Well, if you think about it, 3D printing has come a long way too. So they've probably used a lot of 3D prints for that as well. So and those sort of things can be
as well,
so minuscule and so perfect,
The black gloves is a nice detail as well, isn't it, Matt? Because he doesn't, obviously only wears the gloves in a few stories.
Yeah, no, he does. It's pretty nice.
So I'm not the biggest Pertwee fan in the world, and I know that I think he had a different costume, it seemed to me, Scott, in virtually every story. So I'm never quite sure which one matches which story, but to a great many people, they would have recognized it instantly, wouldn't they?
Well, even his cuffs, how it has that fringe on it, they match that on the figure as well. That's very well done. And yeah, John did have a different costume almost. It is hard to match up which story goes to which one, kind of like Shooty in a way. I mean, at least with a lot of the other doctors, especially like Colin or Tom had 3 changes of costume, I believe. And
like
yeah, it was about, because he I know for for the Talons of Wen Chiang, he had the
changes.
more Sherlock Holmes kind of
Mm.
look, and that was just a one-off. But David had mainly the two, and let's see, I think a couple of them had only one or two, but Shooty and John had several. So,
But I would argue the difference is that with John's, there was a through line of velvet or the cloak or little bits, which he pretty much was consistent. But you're right, it would be a different version pretty much all the time. Whereas you've said this before, that's what Shooty's lacking for me. There needs to be
there's no
through line.
consistency.
There's no consistency. Whereas with John, there was. It was just like you said.
Yeah,
he had
the silhouette is there. The silhouette.
the
is
silhouette
there.
was always
The
there.
silhouette is crucial. Mosh asks, how many of you think the classic series figures sell a lot more than the modern series figures of Doctor Who? They
A
don't
lot
make
more,
any modern figures. So, yeah, they clearly do, because there's a Doctor, there's a Ruby Sunday, and everything else that they intended on producing that we saw prototypes for, to the best of my knowledge, that never came out. This is lovely,
They're
says
not
Dongo, but why is
cost-effective.
it so ridiculously expensive? Well, yeah, as I understand it, Matt, the cost of producing these things has gone up, as has everything else. We'll come to the price in a moment. These are the three accessories that make up the set. There's obviously that's a giant, well, not so giant maggot. You say some of these were coming out straight to go around measuring them, or pre-bending them, or post-bending them.
Yeah, I think there's 3 variations of maggots. So
Oh, I see.
it's
That could be
there's
deliberate.
there's 3 variations of them. So
Oh, so you
sometimes
get a
I'm
mixed
not happy.
bag, do you?
Yeah, so you're getting potluck on what you're getting, really. But
Mommy, you
Oh,
got me
you
the
lucky
straight
grub.
maggot. Now take it back.
What were they like in the show? There was various different ones there too, wasn't there? I suppose crawling around all over the place
Real dog
Yeah.
skulls, though, weren't they?
across 6 episodes. Yes, it's nice. I mean, it'd be good if you could get a whole bag of them, and then it could give chase to your Sergeant Benton, or if they put like a Bessie out, that would be pretty cool.
Oh, Bessie would be.
You know what? I was thinking
that'd be
about that the
great.
other day. I was like, why have
It
they put a
also
Bessie out?
comes strangely with the crystal of Kronos there from the Time Monster that we see the Master holding, which is again a lot later. So it's a bit of a mixed bag here. I don't know how they decided on these particular accessories. Do you think it's just a case of something that they've
Old
never
stock.
done? I could be.
I'd say it's old stock.
What you say, they've put out crystals with figures before?
Have they?
don't know.
I just think they probably have. But it's
You're fond of action
thing that
figures,
makes
aren't you,
money
Matt?
at the moment, you know.
You're fond of action figures and collectibles, though, aren't you, Matt?
Well, I've got the big
any
chief
of
one
these?
behind me, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with that, and that's all I need. That was expensive enough as it was, so
It's nice to go back to a specific story and to capture a Doctor from. If the Demons is your favourite story, for example, then that's a nice thing. I also think it's nice that they're looking at the Sonics again as well, because there's been several of these out already. But this is listed as, so let me get this right. It's the electroplated Third Doctor electronic sonic screwdriver. It says this style with bright electroplating. What on earth does that mean? Has never been released before and features a different sound chip, updated neck decals, and revised colours. So I think what they've tried to do, in other words, is to make it more screen accurate as regards the colours and to just put a bit better finish in. I suppose, Matt, again, it's a similar thing, isn't it? Probably stuff that they couldn't do cost effectively several years ago. They can do now, particularly if they're catering to a specifically collector's market. And I would imagine the sound chip includes an authentic range of sound effects from the Pertwee era rather than just a generic sonic noise, I would guess, but I don't know.
well, yeah, that's the thing too. Is it the Pertwee sonic sound? You know,
Because I think this is the clincher. I think this is the clincher with this set, because there are lots of people who collect the action figures, Charlotte, and there are lots of people who collect the Sonics. And here, it's a way of sort of trying to catch both of them, because you think, oh, if I want that new Sonic, I've got to have the whole set, and then before you know it, you've got all the accessories. You're in for the whole shebang, which isn't. I don't think this is cheap. I've seen people. I hate to say this,
bloody
but
hell!
yeah, this is coming in at $44.99. Obviously, this is without postage and packing, as I understand, for this set, for this Vortex edition. I accept that you get the Sonic and the figure in there and a few bits and pieces, but I still think that the best part of 50 quid really for what is an action figure and a magic wand,
and that would be $58 here.
There's 100 here.
Yeah.
So I've seen some Doctor Who fans. I think it would be unfair to call them shills, but some Doctor Who fans who don't seem to have a problem with anything, whether they buy it or not, are fine with this, and they say it's in line with inflation. And obviously it's right. Everything has gone up, but I think that there's sense and reason to everything, and that the best part of 50 quid for an action figure and a sonic screwdriver is perhaps a bit more.
To be fair, it's not like every other action figure comes with a sonic screwdriver, and it's a full-size sonic screwdriver, and he also gets a little sonic screwdriver. So, it's not like you can complain about that. So, I've always wanted a classic sonic screwdriver. So,
if
just a bonus.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
I've got a metal one somewhere.
So I just find it interesting that the first thing that they can have out this year, as you said at the top of the show, we currently have a Doctor and a second series for that Doctor coming out this year. And what they've gone back to, third Doctor. I find it fascinating. I know I've got my cynical reason why, I feel like the brand right now is having to rely on classic. Classic is like the bedrock, which they're having to keep going back to when it comes to merchandise, because current stuff, like you said, they either don't make it, or if they do, it doesn't seem to catch fire at all, whereas these things seem to always sell.
Well, the Whitaker stuff didn't go anywhere, and it quickly went to clearance very, very quickly. Nobody wanted it then. And I don't think, and I'm not trying to be mean or nasty or anything, but I don't think too many are going to want the shooty stuff either. I mean, just calling it like
I
that.
honestly think is
they sort of ruined the brand a little, I feel, Matt, actually earlier than that. I'd like to put it all on Whitaker and Chibnall, but this time I don't feel that I can. They changed the size of figures, didn't they, during the Peter Capaldi, late Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi era, and I don't think the range ever truly recovered from that. The people whose families have built up collections.
It wasn't only that, Dan, but they also had to go back because they had these sizes, set sizes. Then all the Doctors were going to be smaller, so they had to release special editions of the Doctors that would be full sized enough to play with the other Doctors. So they sort of shot themselves in the foot there, and I think they said that the cost of plastic had gotten too much.
Well, I don't think the price on this is too bad, considering that
it says free delivery on UK orders here, which I hadn't noticed, even though it's in giant white out of blue there.
I was going to point that out to you. I was like,
it is better, and I just think. You see, I'm not a massive Pertwee fan, but even I would like this, but I don't want it enough to spend £45 on it in a time where there's a cost of living crisis and everything has shot up. But I suppose it's priorities, isn't it? For people who will prioritise this, they're not going to have trouble in shifting these units, I don't think.
See, I also, to the point where I don't want to even support this current era. So, and I feel that this is sort of supporting it, and we need to send them a message that, just to try and throw us out these sort of, little trinkets. It's not enough. What they've done to the show is just not recoverable as far as I'm concerned.
Rob Alexander says he can't have too much Pertwee. And Peter Harrington is hoping to get his tomorrow. A third Doctor figure and Sonic. I wasn't going to, but it just looks too gorgeous. So people have been won over by this, and they are very well packaged. I mean, I've ordered some of these before, and what I found is, because I like them, but it's again, I weigh it up and I think, well, I've never built a collection of them. I've never been able to, because I've never been able to find enough of them locally in toy shops or anything like that. So I've missed out on, like, I wanted the Richard Herndl Doctor from the Five Doctors, could never find it. There's very few of them I've ever been able to get. But if I could have a whole range of these, each Doctor with their matching Sonic, I might be tempted, but I see no reason to believe that I'd be able to find them or afford these, Matt, at the times that they choose to release them, because they time them very specifically, don't they? And there's another four coming this year. But though they may not all be Doctors and Sonics, they could be completely different sets.
Yeah, and I just think that they've missed a treat by, like you said, Dan, about the size and everything. I really think they should have just gone back to the... I mean, this is the only thing that they're making now, okay? They're not making any other sort of action figures. There's not a whole action line. So why not concentrate on the one item or 4 items, 5 items, whatever, and make the best you possibly can with almost full size. Get back to the detail that they had in the original figures. Those ones that used, for the original Doctors and that came out, if you remember. And just get back to those rather than these little dinky ones. That's the reason why I bought a larger one, because I wanted it to look more detailed.
These are now back in line with the sizing of the original line of figures, to be fair to them. So these are...
so that is the same size?
These match the size of those original. They very quickly went back, but by the time they went back to that original sizing, now they did this several years ago, but by the time they did that, the damage to the range had already been done.
Okay.
And they sell a range of, we've all seen the twin packs of Daleks, History of the Daleks. They go into B&M stores up and down the country, but they allocate them differently all over the country. So certain parts of Britain get lots of them, whilst other parts of Britain get next to none. And I've certainly never been able to find any of those. And then there's sort of figure sets of 3 figures. Sometimes there's Doctors and TARDISes or Doctors and Daleks and things like that. And I've never seen any of these things.
I don't think their proportions are right either. I think the Daleks maybe aren't the same proportion as what they would be if they were, the same as the other Doctors sort of thing. So I think that there's that. Is it the History Daleks or whatever? I think they're
History
a little bit smaller, but they're just not
they
quite.
Seem fine to me.
Okay.
Classic Who, the gift that keeps on giving. I've said on this show several times that classic Doctor Who is more alive than ever. And to me, the success of these ranges and the enthusiasm for them would seem to back that up.
Well, I know that no one would ever really want to see anybody, recast or reboot, if you would, classic Who, because it would be considered a sacrilege to a lot of people. But if it would, and I'm really biting my tongue here myself, because if it was done right, and if it wasn't, done in the same spirit of the last several years, if it was done correctly, it could really catch back on, and it would leave everything else behind. And then the figures and all that stuff would have a far more legitimate place in the shops, if you will, in the marketplace, as opposed to, well, we have to have some money coming in somehow, so let's give them what they want, as opposed to let's give them what we have now.
Yeah, no, I don't think that they obviously know that that's the only thing that's making money right now. It is. It's. I mean, I believe that the shooty ones are still on the store shelves.
I've never seen a 15th Doctor or Ruby Sunday in any shop ever in Britain. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this in the live chat. I have.
Have you looked for them?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. I have looked. Yeah, and you could order them online and things like that. And I understand that they are or were out there, but I've certainly never seen any. There is enthusiasm for this in the live chat there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. People are happy to see this out. Some people are more than happy to order this, to get on it right away, Luke. For others, the pricing is a major down point, and the difference between them getting it or not. But and that's just the nature of the world, isn't it? We all prioritize where we spend our money. But I think the biggest shame of all, as happy as I am that the classic series can bring about these lines of merchandise, it's sad that it's become such an exclusive line of merchandise that's a limited edition, either hard to get in the wild or something you've got to go to a website and keep your fingers crossed for. I think that's a pity.
Yeah, it's like how I mentioned earlier. It's like gone are the days when I was young, doing the first run of Eccleston 20 years ago. To be said, oh my god.
No, Luke.
No. Oh.
Says the kid here. Says the kid.
Don't do it to
I know.
yourself.
But yeah, gone are the days when you're going in Toys R Us or Entertainer or Argos, and well, you're not going to go into Argos. You're just looking at a book. But yeah, that's really weird for Americans. But yeah, gone are the days. Yeah, Whoniverse. Yeah, of course. When you're going in and there's Doctor Who's plastered everywhere, and now from speaking to people, it's like this. You know, they had the Beep the Meep stuff, the stuff from the Star, the creatures from the Star Beast, the Warriors, and I think they expected it to sell. They expected this. I think everyone expected Series 1 to be right. Okay, boom, this is a reboot, Series 1, and obviously it didn't do as well. But it's like, how long did it take for them to get the Fugitive Doctor out? That figure was announced years ago, and that only came out just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, but they had to include a TARDIS in with it too, so people wanted the TARDIS and not the actual figure.
But it's like a Sacha Dhawan Master as well, the Cybermen from the Chibnall era, which were fantastically designed. It's like they should be out as well. It's like the people are just not. The kids are not interested anymore. Doctor Who hasn't taken off, and Doctor Who, in terms of merchandising, has become more of a collectible things. So these type of things are going to become more appealing. I know a couple more box sets that are coming out soon, from what I remember. But yeah, we might have a new Ainley soon, apparently, from what I'm told. That's the one I can remember. And Anthony, shit. But we might have a new Master. But yeah, it is aimed at the more collectibles now, because the audience is just not there for it anymore. Like, it's just not there. So it's the collectors.
We're not there for it. Older fans aren't there for it. So I'd be interested to see what the sales are.
I would be if they were easier to get and if they weren't so steep. Primarily it's the problems in getting hold of them that have limited me, that have distanced me from a range, from this line of merchandise which I supported for years, both as a parent and as a collector myself. I've got a comment here from Darren Bradley watching on YouTube, and he says that I ordered 24 character options, radio controlled Daleks, and TARDIS playsets for my comic shop. They were all sold by the same afternoon. Good times, yeah.
It's like for that price, for $44.99, you could literally go out and buy the season 7 Blu-ray. So it's the justification of, do you want to watch the episodes, or do you want a collectible toy for the same price that's on your shelf?
Collect dust.
Yeah, it's the prices. I do get, you get the Sonic, but the Sonic's going to cost like 20 quid, I guess, for example. You know what character options are like. And
I'm not going to play with my Sonic every day.
No, I don't know. Right. You might watch a Blu-ray. So yeah, I think the price is a bit all over the place. But what was the justification's mad?
Well, Dan, what was that that Sonic that came out a couple of years ago that just like flew off the shelves and it was being gouged? Was that
number 14?
I've got that one. Yeah, that's a cool Sonic.
That was the one that got released exclusively at Comic-Con.
Okay,
and then they made a slightly cheaper version to put in Forbidden Planet.
Actually, I believe it had the electromagnetic thing, didn't it, Dan?
That was the most high profile of these Vortex editions, because you're quite right. Not only did they sell out virtually instantly, they did. I think it's unprecedented that they put out a second set. They make a second batch, but they did with that, because there was scalping going on and all manner of things. This is the full range of 11 of the Vortex edition so far. I'm not quite sure. I thought originally that to be a Vortex edition, it'd have to be enhanced in some way, to do with either like a sound chip or some sort of electromagnetics or something like that. But as I understand it, just 3 Silurians. There's nothing particularly special about that. So no, it doesn't seem
Well,
that
they're
way at all.
actually in colour this time, so I don't know. It's a really bad joke.
Warriors of the Deep, Cybermen, and the latest one was that sort of weird orangey pinky version of the 15th Doctor's Sonic
Yeah.
Doobrey thing that he uses. So it just seems to be all over the map to me. Maybe they decide based on what perceived demand, even within their own parameters, might be. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get Al from Character on, and he can fill in some of the blanks for us. But yeah, I got that 14th Doctor's Sonic, and you know what? I've taken it out once. That's it. Just once.
Well, that was the thing. It was the hype for the show. The show hadn't come out yet. People were still excited about the show. It was 3 or 4 months away from the actual debut.
They timed that brilliantly.
They sure did. Because imagine if that had come out after those 3 specials had come out. I don't think that people would have grabbed them as quickly. They would have sold out, but they wouldn't have gone as fast. And I don't think that they would have the same kind of gouge value that they had on eBay and such, because people would be like, so what?
Yeah, the chap brought up as well. I think it was Peter. They brought out a gold-plated version of 14th Sonic as well, which I completely forgot about. Which is the most bizarre thing ever. Because you've got the electroplated one, you've got like the normal plasticky one, and then a random gold one, that's bizarre. That's so bizarre. I was like, I do.
Well, I've never seen that red one before. Is there a red one as well as a blue one for?
It's not a screen thing. They just randomly did it. Like those.
It
is red. Yeah, it is red in the episode.
The red,
yellow.
The red 15th one.
Yeah,
it is used on screen. As I understand it, there are several. As I understand it, there are several new colours in season 2 for him as well.
Oh, so it's not enough that he has loads of costumes. He has to have different coloured Sonics as well.
It seems so. We've got an answer from Dalek Lives Matter in the live chat, who says, I believe the crystal and maggots, those 2 accessories, have been released before, and they're quite hard to get. That's a nice thing. That's a nice thing to do for collectors who may not have been able to get hold of them the first time. But several people agree with
slightly different, I reckon.
That the pricing is outrageous. Stephen Braddock says it's already up to 78 quid on eBay. So this is what happens. Should have been 20 quid without Sonic, says Z3. Hi Z, good to see you, pal.
So I just saw Retro Doctor's comment. That's really
You can't read it out, Dan.
No. It's really funny though.
And Darren Bradley says, the 3.75 range broke the habit for many. Yeah, it really did. What do they have against overseas buyers? Asks Gary Akers, the Retro Doc. I don't know.
Well, the 14th was Santiago, as Anchorman would say. It was an exclusive, so they had it first, so can't complain. So there you go.
Oh, fair enough. Yes, you can check out that gorgeous promo reel there on the Character Options website. There's a link in the description to the video as well for anybody who does want to order that. If you can get in there quick enough, if it's not sold out already, I don't know. Maybe it has, but could be they may go back and make another batch. I don't know in time if there's enough demand. Who's to say? Let us know if you get yours. Is it worth the wait? And is it worth the 45 quid? Let us know what you think. That's the Vortex edition of the 3rd Doctor and Sonic Screwdriver. It went on sale on the 11th of March 2025 just through the website, and they advise that it is an even lower run than usual, and that you should act quickly to avoid disappointment. 4 more Vortex editions are planned for 2025. Heaven knows what they're going to be. I'm not going to even attempt to guess, because I would never have guessed any of the ones we've done so far.
If I was to get this off eBay now, it'd cost me $200 Australian.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That's insane.
That's including the postage, though.
When you put tariffs on top of that as well, Jesus, you never know how much it's going to be.
I'll pass on the Sonic shoehorn, says Cybernote Strikes.
The Sonic shoehorn.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And Lee Smith says Mego should bring out 8-inch Doctor Who figures. Amigo do sort of exist now, don't they? Even if it's a brand within another brand. They did have similar ones
that they came out with, the Tom Baker ones and that. They did have them a few years back, but it wasn't Mego, though. It was another company, but they were very Mego-like. Had a Sutek as well, but he didn't look like a dog.
And Stephen Braddock confirms it's still up on the website there. So if you want to get over there and order, you still have time. If you've received yours already, let us know. Was it worth it? Was it worth that price tag? Are you happy? And take some pictures and go and join up with the Type 40 Facebook group. Maybe post some of them over there and we can all have a good old look. Okay, not quite electromagnetic, but these are definitely golden faces and golden voices coming right up from Doctor Who's long and distinguished past. Some of our legends here flogging us all manner of everyday household items and bits of old tat from back in the pre-Amazon days. It's the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
Where are you?
Are you paying too much for pay-as-you-go?
I better go.
New Mixit mixes the value of contract with the fixed bill you choose. Mixit, new from T-Mobile.
There's a challenging adventure game for use with a BBC microcomputer called Doctor Who and the Warlord, with over 250 locations in each part, and a useful save and retrieve facility to enable you to save and load your last position, and the cassette costs £7.95.
From outer space, the famous TARDIS brings Time Lord, Doctor Who, and the amazing Leela, ready to do battle against their mighty enemies, the fearful Cyberman, the giant robot, and one of the deadly Daleks. Whilst Leela covers him, the Doctor reaches the TARDIS in time and disappears to escape from the Dalek. Doctor Who, Leela, the fearful inhabitants of outer space, and the TARDIS. From Dennis Fisher. Fantastic.
Welcome back to your Type 40 Live, covering the future, the past, and the present of all things Doctor Who, if not necessarily in that order. All bases covered in a roundabout way, sooner or later. We've been here so far goofing around on the panel with pretty bits of plastic, haven't we, Martha? And yeah, you just saw Freema Angerman there in the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break, riding the bus. I can't remember where she was going, but that haircut, my God, that was quite severe. Wasn't it, Charlotte? Did you see that?
Not when it went out, but no, now it does look very severe.
I've got, yes, so Charlotte's here. We've got Matt there too. Our guest this week in the guest spot, Dr. Scott himself from the Game Closet. And we've got Luke Walters from Cinescope Pictures as well, back on the show too. Lots more to talk about as ever. Thank you for the comments so far too. Have you recovered yet from the price tag on that Vortex edition of the Third Doctor with his Sonic? Let us know. So yeah, we've got one eye on the Vortex as always here, because Doctor Who is on the way back to television, back where he belongs. Matt's trying to stem his enthusiasm there as the logo.
Back, Dad. Hold me back.
The logo's coming for you, mate. The space anus is clenched and
the starfish
heading your way. Okay, so all information is telling us right now that not only is Ncuti Gatwa out as the Doctor, but the series is once again internationally homeless. And that's what all the information that's come Type 40's way is saying anyway. And this is something now that is reaching the sort of the broader fan community too, and into the mainstream press. Then something quite unexpected happened, and lots of us in the fan base sort of leapt on it, didn't we, a few weeks ago? Global streaming platforms such as Netflix, Amazon, Apple, and yes, Disney Plus, they rarely talk about viewing figures at all, if ever, or ratings, as we've always call them in Britain and in the Doctor Who community. It's something we're sort of obsessed with. Despite our best efforts and these habits that we have as a fandom of Doctor Who's performance in ratings, it's been practically impossible to comment on the success or not of the series internationally on this global streaming home platform in this new age, because those figures from the overseas platforms, they're simply not published. Over in Britain, of course, everything is still published. The domestic data, it has to be freely available. But Disney Plus, it's a completely different kettle of fish. They are a private business, so there's no expectation of them to publish any of their figures or any of their expectations, even for us to see. And I think that's something that we, as a community, find very frustrating. Because they have to publish everything because it's in line with the government and public money. So it's all very self-evident. What I don't think any of us expected, after so much silence, the entire time that they've been in this arrangement with BBC iPlayer, that it would drop sort of simultaneously last year for season 1. All that silence, all that time, and very little actual promotion. It was very surprising to see Disney Plus start to talk about the show in their recent press kit. Even more so when they seem to reveal, or they claim, that Doctor Who, after all, was one of their biggest global hits of the last summer. I don't think any of us were really expecting that. A great many of us view it with a certain amount of suspicion, because it doesn't seem to reflect the popularity of the show at all when you actually speak to the people who watch it or are interested in watching it. Disney Plus is available in over 80 countries with just under 160 million subscribers around the world, Charlotte. That's a hell of an operation. And it's nowhere near as successful as a Netflix or an Amazon Prime. But platforms like that are still sort of in their infancy. I think Disney Plus is still the newest of the bunch. They're going to have their own expectations, priorities, and targets. And they're not answerable necessarily to their subscribers, because they sell a whole package of content to us, don't they? Depending on our lifestyle and the makeup of each home that they're trying to sell it into. But they are answerable to their stakeholders and shareholders and anyone that they'd be in business with. And that would include the old BBC Studios and Bad Wolf, who ultimately commission and own the rights to make Doctor Who. So it's a totally different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, and also sort of the idea of Disney Plus and all these streamers, and I'd say Disney Plus more than the others. It's like you've got the hub aspect of it with lots of different categories. Whereas Netflix is pretty much, you buy Netflix for whatever shows, whereas Disney, it's like, oh, I want to watch my Marvel, I want to watch my Star Wars, I want to watch my National Geographic. They have so many sort of parts to their streaming compared to some of the others in the market. And yeah, it was really odd, because we all were saying Disney's the type of like company that when they do get a hit, when they get a success, they boast. They're very, that's the usual MO. And they were so quiet when Series 1 was going out.
Well, I think they boast and promote very strategically, Charlotte, when I look back. And it's not that I watch everything meticulously with what's said about, for example, the latest Star Wars show, and look for patterns in when they do it. But they do seem to do any kind of promotion very, very strategically, often in line with financial years, when they've got some of those big exhibitions coming up. D23, isn't it? Things like that.
Well, that's their big showcase. But
Yeah.
it's usually also at the beginning, if they have like a couple of episodes do really well, they'll boast about that. Or at the end, they'll say like collectively how it's been watched, and that's how they talk. So I'm quite suspicious, if I'm going to be honest, about this claim, because they've not been acting like it's been one of their biggest hits. The promotion I know obviously we see it from the UK end, so maybe Scott can probably comment better, but I feel like this series coming up, hardly any promotion from Disney's end.
I'm brought to mind something that you said, Luke, and you're just one of several people who've said this to me, in that Disney Plus, the Disney Corporation, are not or weren't in that deal for as much money as it would appear, as promotion for it in Britain and the conversation in Britain would seem to indicate. That on their terms, it's actually quite a smaller investment, and their stake in Doctor Who in line with their stake in other things internationally, never mind the shows that they actually own, for them is a negligible amount. I mean, we see the figure and it's like eye-watering, but to Disney, the figures that they've got that they had invested in Doctor Who weren't that high at all. Is that what you were saying a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, so it originally, I'm not sure. I think Doctor Who. So obviously, Dan, you work in TV in the industry. So British television dramas have different bands that they fall into in terms of budgets. So there's like a band one, for example, is like under $1 million. Band two is, I think, it's up to 3. Band four is band 2 is up to like 3 million, and etc. So Doctor Who was never in band 4. Band 4 is like your Game of Thrones level, which is, I think, 7.5 million plus. Band 4 has only just come, is a recent thing. It's only just come in. It normally used to be 1, 2, and 3, and then band 4 come out with your Game of Thrones and all these type of shows. So Doctor Who is just, it's never been that level. I think budget per episode for series 1, originally the Eccleston was around $750,000 to $1 million per episode, but now Doctor Who has moved up, and recently as well, not just, but it is above the threshold now, so it technically qualifies as a band 4 production. So it is over 7.5 plus per episode. But yeah, from speaking to people on the show, it's not the Disney thing is, Doctor Who were after a streamer, BBC were after a streamer. Disney come on board because it has family appeal, worldwide appeal. It's got great IP and it can exploit. They didn't give as much money as people say. No, it's like Game of Thrones level. It's nowhere near Game of Thrones level. Game of Thrones is like 15 million episodes. It's
because
nowhere near
Russell,
that.
You can see why people have sort of fallen for that line, because Russell has mentioned Game of Thrones, Stranger Things. He's dropped the names of all these shows which are on significantly higher budgets and are owned by the platforms that distribute them. He's mentioned them at every junction he possibly could, hasn't he? So that's sort of, I wouldn't say it's gaslighting as such, and it's not a false representation, but it's a way of kind of
It's a way of getting them into the conversation. It's a way to try and be like, oh, well, look, if we're talking about Doctor Who in the same breath as a Game of Thrones or Stranger Things, for example, then he's trying to get, look, they fall into the same category. They're in band 4. You could have a show that's being shot for 7.5 million and 20 million. They're still band 4, even though there's a big discrepancy between them. But Disney didn't come on board and give as much money as people think. So, but the latest rumor now, and the latest thing going around, is that Amazon are the ones that are trying to get it. Amazon have got their clothes up for it. Apparently, that's the latest.
It seems logical to me that if the BBC, if they're hoping, if they want a quick renegotiation, if they want to get the train back on the tracks as quickly and efficiently as possible, then going to Amazon, who they already have a pre-established relationship with on other shows, as well as Doctor Who, because Amazon has Doctor Who Unleashed and various other things, it makes sense that they would go there. But who knows whether it'll end up there or not, because yes, as we've said here on the show before, and all the information we're receiving even now, in fact I'm hearing even more, is that yes, Disney are out, and that although negotiations are continuing, and with some sense of urgency, that as things stand at the moment, the door is closed with the BBC studios and Disney as regards more Doctor Who. Obviously, things may change at some point in the future. Nothing's impossible. But for the moment, we are where we are. They are where they are. And it seems to be all over. But when it comes to talking about these figures, what I've noticed, and I understand the frustration, is that because everybody knows, and Russell T Davies has admitted that the series has not done as well as they would have liked. It's not been a success. It's got next to no what they call pop culture footprint, Scott. It just hasn't had any impact whatsoever on broader pop culture. Ncuti Gatwa has not been catapulted to mega stardom. So none of that has happened. There's no momentum behind the brand whatsoever. And nobody knows what the Whoniverse is. So that's more than evident. But by the same measure, I do think that some commentators and websites, I've noticed that people are kind of making up what they don't and can't know, and drawing conclusions which are less than sound based on criteria of their own sort of subjective wants or pure opinion. Here at Type 40, if there's nothing concrete to go on, our position has always been that discussing figures or trying to sort of somehow manifest figures or patterns from Disney Plus is a complete waste of time, because there's simply not enough to go on. There are some charts that you can look at, but those figures, they're a very minor corner of the tapestry. Only Disney Plus themselves, and I would imagine they probably had confided to BBC Studios and Bad Wolf and Sony what their expectations would be when fashioning the deal, but only they know what their expectations were of it. There's no pressure on them to publish any of that data. Their targets are their own. Quite often, as you said, Charlotte, they sell these platforms into homes based on a far broader picture.
Yeah.
Who are we to know? Sometimes, what I've noticed as well, covering general geeky pop culture, is quite often people will see a show which looks like it's been outwardly very successful, even shows that have been talked about positively, and a Netflix, Amazon have cancelled them, Scott. And people go, well, that was a great show, or I watched that show. Lots of people seem to watch that show, and yet the platform has axed it, and people have just wondered why, because on the surface it makes no sense. But it depends on what Netflix would have wanted from a show, what their expectation of return would have been. And that's for them to decide. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes absolute sense, because we're not in the same era of, say, 80s, 90s, even 2000s television, or even from way before, where you have that. Like, for example, I don't know if they have it in Great Britain, but here in the United States, they have the Nielsen's rating system. And then they have like all these Nielsen families where they have these set-top boxes that are recording.
Yeah, we have a similar thing in Britain.
Yeah, where you can see what's being watched. Number one, we do have an oversaturation of stuff now that there's just so much to watch, and so many different portals to go to watch, whether it's something new or something old. Tubi TV, for example, is something that I go to a lot, and I can watch all classic Who over there. And lately, I've been watching 8 is Enough from the 70s and 80s. But to my point, I think what has happened is you have this. Back then, it was okay. Well, we're not quite sure what the public wants, so we're going to make this show. We're going to put a We're going to put a pilot up, and we're going to run a few episodes. And if it does well, we'll order more, and we'll call it a hit. But nowadays, especially with what's been happening, especially since 2016, there's been this, and I don't want to go deep down the rabbit hole, but there's been this, what I'm going to marry this, what I think, with what Russell has been doing. Russell thinks that he's Steve Jobs, and he's going to give us what Steve Jobs used to have as his reality distortion field. But with Steve, there really was a reality distortion. Whereas with Russell, he's deluding himself and he's trying to delude others. So we're going to give you what I want you to have, and you should like it just because you should like it. Where the public is like, no, you should be giving us what we want, which is entertainment, as opposed to your message. And that's what the revolt has been over the last, almost 10 years.
Yeah,
people are revolting against the message.
Of course,
we don't want the message. We want to be
and
entertained.
That's more than evident as well. The tide has well and truly turned on all manner of wokeism and that brand of content. It's bleeding out before our very eyes, and productions getting cancelled all the time. A character's being dropped from popular shows all the time. It is having that effect. But when I speak to people who have multiple streaming platforms in their home, a lot of the time, and this doesn't matter how big a fan they are of one individual show. Quite often it's the case where particularly families, they think, well, I'd kind of like Disney Plus because I'd really like to see that new Hulu show, or that new Alien show, for example, or 1,000 Blows, because I love Peaky Blinders. But the stuff that the kids watch, that's all on another platform. And as a family, we've got to just, what are we more likely to watch as a family collectively? That's what I mean about them selling a package. So I think it's a totally different sort of business model than something traditional and linear like the BBC, and us trying to apply the same way of analysing the outcomes. We're on a hide into nothing, really, is how I see it.
You got to remember too, a lot of people really don't want to invest in multiple series anymore. I think binging is over. I think people have gotten back to a weekly show, but I think it's going to be the show for the year, and then they're not going to return for the following year. That's if it's a show that they're interested in.
Well, look at that show, The Acolyte. I wasn't going. There's some stuff about it that I was interested. I was like, okay, if Darth, what was his name, Plagueis was going to be in it, I would like to check that out. But ultimately, that was not written for the general Star Wars fan. That was written for the 0.1% out there. And then, of course, toxic fandom was brought in and everybody got blamed, because it's like Crystal Pepsi died for a reason. It wasn't because of toxic fans of Pepsi. It was because it was shit. So that's why nobody bought it. Okay.
Yeah, there's no market for a product that no one wants, Scott. I've been saying this since the beginning of the culture war itself. I mean, last month, Disney did publish their media kit as part of the promotion for season 2 of all new Doctor Who, which obviously that's coming on April the 12th. So they put this out. This sort of stuff isn't necessarily for our eyes, is it though, Luke? Not for fans of a show, for a fan base. This would be to sell it to stakeholders, investors, various partners that they may have. That's the function of a media kit. It's to go out to the media, isn't it? And although the nature of media has changed, the principles behind a media kit haven't. Luke, I wouldn't have thought.
No, not at all. So it's a bit of a surprise move that it's out. And also, can I say how nice it is to finally be talking about this after a couple of weeks?
Yes.
We've been planning to talk about this for weeks,
He's been threatening folks.
Yeah, everything is like, the Disney press kit is looming in the back. Yeah, but it's a bit of a... Yeah, it's a bit of a... Okay, cool. It's a thing. It's out there. I don't remember seeing the press kit or seeing it for season 1, but at least it's a strange one.
Could it be that no one was looking? No one went looking for it. But they did publish this, and they made it. The link was out there for anybody who'd want to click on it. And as the press kits go, it's pretty much a standard affair. So it's very, very corporate. So you've got the full breakdown there. There's a synopsis. The Doctor meets Belinda Chandra and goes on an epic quest to get her back to Earth. We've seen that synopsis in various places. And it's all laid out very officially there. So it's all the information that anybody would want to know. When is it on? Who's made it? And who's in it? So the very basic facts all broken down. As we make our way through the press kit, though, there's a list of producers, social media links too, and media contacts, as you would expect in a media kit. This would go out to such as Reuters and United Press and places like that, as well as larger media groups, independent media groups, or places like ITV or the studios, I suppose. So all the contact names are listed there. It's when we get deeper into the actual literature, though, and this section about Doctor Who. Now, when I saw this, I had a flick through. I clicked the link, and I didn't bother reading any of this. I thought it would be, along similar lines that we usually get about Doctor Who. Started in 1963, can change his face, 2 hearts, all that kind of thing. But that's not what this is at all. It's a pitch about its media worth. Quintessentially British, Doctor Who is one of the longest running action adventure television series in the world. See, it starts as you would expect. But when it gets a little bit deeper down, you notice that it says, the Ncuti Gatwa took on the role of the 15th Doctor in The Church on Ruby Road, and the Doctor Who remains one of the most watched programs on iPlayer. Not that hard. But was a top 5 series. This is the bit that's got everybody talking, and that was unexpected. Was a top 5 series on Disney Plus globally every week it aired. Top 5 series on Disney Plus globally every week it aired. Now, I did see some versions of some charts for Disney Plus broken down into territories, and it had a stronger showing in some than others. That's what I mean. It's virtually impossible to line this stuff up, but clearly Disney Plus have lined it all up, because all of that data goes back to them, and they would put it through whatever mechanism they have for sorting such data, wouldn't they, and reaching their outcomes. But according to this, it was a top 5 series every week throughout those 7 weeks. I doubt that. I view this with cynicism too, because we all know the series wasn't successful, but they wouldn't and couldn't make this up, could they?
Well, the thing is, Dan, like you said, we don't know how they've monitored this. We know with the UK ratings how they get monitored. We know you get the overnight, you get your 7-day, but even they're starting now to play with that stuff a little bit over here. Like we've said, suddenly the 7 days becoming a 10-day, but
yeah,
we know how it's done. That's my point. Whereas they can put that, and by whatever their metrics are, whatever their monitor is in their own system, of course that can be true. But we don't know. Like you said, it's so sort of out there that we can't quite make it come back down to a level we can see all the ins and outs of it. Because globally it can mean anything as well. In certain countries, does that mean if it did really well in America, for example?
I think it means on aggregate, literally globally. So everywhere, every territory they've received data back from, they would have worked it out on aggregate and would have come to this conclusion. But as a Brit, Matt, and I know that the ABC in Australia has exactly the same setup that the BBC had. When they publish figures, for example, for the week's TV figures, they publish it once, and a show figures in the top 5 or the top 10. They go, it's done really well. It's like the music charts. They publish it per week. Here, though, it says it was a top 5 series on Disney Plus globally every week it aired. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was in the top 5 for the entirety of that week. It could have been on Tuesdays. When did it drop? It dropped then on Fridays, didn't it? So say it was on Saturdays. By Monday, it might have vanished, but it's still. So I think this is worded quite carefully, generously, but in fairness, probably appropriately based on the sector that Disney are operating Disney Plus in. I haven't seen press kits for Netflix and Amazon. I would imagine that they're probably the same and that their targets could be the same. I mean, am I onto something there, Luke, that perhaps it could be just a day, but that would qualify them for this claim?
Potentially, but if you ever look how what was it? How what was the Christmas one called? I completely forgot already. The last Christmas one,
Joy to the World.
Oh, that's a must. Oh yeah, because we reviewed it and we all give it 1 out of 5. But that and on Disney Plus is like that done really well. It was like, I think at one point, correct me if I'm wrong here, but at one point it was number 1 on Disney over in New Zealand, Australia. I think it was number 3 in Brazil. From what
Hand on my heart, Luke, I never looked. That's on me. I never bothered looking.
I think I had a look, and it was performing well. It was in towards top 5 of that Disney week of when it came out of it. So yeah, it performed well internationally. So it definitely is doing something. And yeah, the under 35s thing, Russell's been spouting that out since the series began. That's his way of saying we're getting them. But it seems, I get ratings as Doctor Who fans, ratings the bread and butter, because you get the callback to the 80s and stuff. But ratings don't, as someone who works in film and TV, ratings don't matter as much anymore. It's like, look, I watch a lot of my stuff when I'm going to work on my phone people consume media very, very differently now.
They're not the be all and end all in the way that they were. They're a component part.
No, it's like, but if we're talking realistically, the biggest streamer in the world is YouTube. YouTube's the biggest streaming platform going, and no one complains like, oh, something's failed on YouTube. But it's like people consume media very differently to how they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when ratings did actually matter. When like a David Tennant regenerating again like 10 million, that's massive. But now you see hit shows. I think, what was it, House of Dragon? It's only getting 2 mil an episode. It's getting Doctor Who levels.
Oh,
of
really?
ratings. House of Dragons is getting round about the same from what I remember. So it's not like this is the death knell of Doctor Who. It's like people consume it very, very differently. And if Disney are saying this, they can't falsify it. They can massage it a little bit, but they can't put out something that's blatantly a lie. So
I did want to cover this because I feel that we've covered everything else, and we've been, we pull no punches on this show. We never have, albeit politely and reasonably and as constructively as we can in any of our sort of criticisms of the editorial or creative content of the show. And when it comes to the coverage of this side to it, we also try to be measured and reasonable and not to be too reactionary. I think we have our biases as everybody does. We have a position on some broader topics for the most part, but we do try and resist being reactionary as we would being ideological. It's the same thing in principle. But yeah, looking at this statement there and what you've just said there, Luke, it reminds me, Russell T Davies, he does mention this quite a lot. So that portion there that we've highlighted, that's essentially broken into two halves. The first half from Disney Plus, what that says to me is that I think they've been very, very generous in putting this out in the way that they have. I think I wouldn't describe this as cope. I think it's true. I don't see any reason not to believe it. But I also don't think it's the great claim that it looks at first sight. Yeah. I think it's, like you say, Luke, I think this is probably quite a reasonable performance by their, I won't say meager investment, but by the investment that they've had in it. So they're probably reasonably content with that. But I'm also interested in the second half there. If you look at that divide, so it says, as well as being the BBC's top drama for under 35s this year, making it one of the biggest programs for the demographic across all streamers and broadcasters. I think that's a big claim across all streamers and Who are you? Who are Disney Plus to speak for all streamers and broadcasters, Charlotte? Unless they have access to trade data that we simply don't. That could be the case.
I think that's when we're getting into proper PR, puffing your chest mode, isn't it? It's proper. Look at us. Isn't everything brilliant and sunny? It's like, but that what makes me laugh about the other bit when it says it's the most watching on iPlayer. Yeah, Doctor Who is, because people watch the old stuff. They've been trying that for the last couple of years as well. The BBC. It's like, no, you're talking about the whole of the IP because you have it all now on there. But
yeah, in all fairness, that they are quite specific there in any given week. I think that they are, in this instance, they are specifically just talking about that one season. But I am drawn to the under 35s thing because obviously Russell T Davies would have us believe, Matt, that when, and he said this in the media quite a lot, that he wanted to make the series younger and to make it appeal to a new generation of younger people, which is quite right. Absolutely appropriate, a noble effort, a big swing in the attention economy, but he has said that all the time, and he has gone out and trumpeted it as a success based on that criteria, and they've backed him up in this. But are they repeating his words, or is he repeating theirs? I suspect in this instance they could be repeating his.
You have to remember that our population in Australia and like New Zealand and that is way smaller than Britain and America. So the uptake on us having Disney Plus. Not everybody, like probably about 1 million people, if they're lucky, have Disney Plus here in Australia. If they're lucky, I don't know what the uptake is, but it's not. It wouldn't be much more than 1 million at least. And so therefore, there's not every single person's going to be watching Doctor Who either. I think that the only reason why the Joy to the World was popular was because it was on Christmas Day. It was a Christmas-themed show. People were probably watching Christmas shows on that.
We can't say, can we?
And
More people
had
at
a
home, families at home.
version of it.
It's not like you're going to go and watch Joy to the World now, are you? You're not going to go and watch it now because it's freaking Christmas. You know, Christmas has been and gone. So that's my point. My point is that it's there and gone. It's people are not going back and rewatching this crap. There is no way. Maybe they've missed it and they've gone to watch it, but they're not going and watching the episodes 3 to 4 times unless they're brain dead.
I have spoken to. I would agree. Not many people were going to watch these episodes more than once. I've spoken to several people, Matt. I've spoken to several people since sort of September, October time who've said to me things along the lines of, there was a Doctor Who Christmas special. I didn't watch it because I've been meaning to watch the last season. I've been meaning to. They've had it queued up on their box and hadn't got around to starting it. So people are in the habit of a certain section of people who aren't as dyed in the wool maybe as we are, Scott, will let, and because I'm the same with House of Dragons, I let those things build up. Yeah. And then I watch them at a rate that pleases me. I'm doing that with Reacher right now. I'll watch those stripped over a week. It depends on how much of a priority any show is for you. So there are people who are quite content to wait a couple of months and then watch it at quick momentum. But I think the idea with the streaming platform, and this includes the iPlayer up to a point, is that you are there to, you can't please all the people all the time, but you can have a bloody good try with the global streaming platform to cater to habits.
Sorry to cut across. To go back to one thing, which is it's boggled my head now. So it's the BBC's top drama for under 35s. What other dramas are they making that are aimed to under 35s? Because I don't see a BBC making a sex education.
Waterloo Road, they claim, is aimed at under 20.
Is that a drama, though?
It's not a drama, though.
Waterloo Road is.
Oh, well done. It beat Waterloo Road. Fantastic. Which is essentially now a training scheme for up-and-coming talent in Manchester. So that comment is like, that's a weird one. The BBC I don't think they make. Yeah, it's a really weird one. It's a really, really weird one.
Stuff like Death in Paradise is stuff like Death in Paradise. I would imagine, Charlotte, and generally speaking, is going to appeal to people who are a little older.
Oh yeah, I watched Death in Paradise. And it's very much, I would say, I'm probably weird that I watch it at my age. But no, I agree with Luke. It's such a precise category, and that's done, I think, on purpose. So then it's easier to win that category if it's such like Luke said, what dramas under 35 can you think of beyond 2 or 3 more than that are Doctor Who on the BBC because right now?
You and I, Charlotte, we've mentioned this because we've covered this extensively week on week now for years here at Type 40 Live, and responsibly too, because we're proper podcasters. But we have said several times, as it feels like Russell has been sort of rolling out the tablecloth with this, putting his stall out in effect, when he said, "Oh, we're looking to attract the people who are under 35 and who live in us," and it was like, well, why are they going that precise with the show, which is meant to be for everyone? You have remarked on that. Simon Horton has too. We'd all picked up on it and wondered why he was making such a big deal.
It's if you make your competition easy, you can get first. That's what it is.
Yeah, fair.
If you make the rules so to your benefit, it's not hard to win.
No, it isn't. As I say, I have to take this at face value. This a media kit. does what it says on the tin. It's not necessarily for us. It's there for us to read. They've published it. It's easy to find there. There's a link that anybody can click on, but it is for the media. It is for stakeholders, shareholders, and for anybody who may wish to partner with them in the future. I think that they've got PR people, they've got copywriters, Scott. Every word of this will have been very carefully considered. By the same measure, though, I feel it would be. I could sit here and say this is all bullshit. The show was crap. They're talking out their asses. This is all a load of absolute horse shit, and just say it's just not worth the digital paper that it's not printed on. But the truth of the matter is, I think it is what it is. This is a generous bit of fluff, it's not even publicity, bit of corporate nonsense that they put out there to go where it's got to go. We shouldn't necessarily look too deeply into it, and because obviously some people who have seen the conversation turn around and the fact that the Disney deal is over are saying, well, why would Disney call time on a deal which, on the basis of this, they sound like they're happy with this, but that assumes that the reason why Disney bailed on the deal and aren't interested in going forward with more Doctor Who, that makes the assumption that it was predicated solely on ratings, or that any potential ratings were the bulk of their desired outcome. From what I've heard, from the information we've had at Type 40 over and over again since last August, it's more the reason why Disney are out is more to do with a massive breakdown of communications and extensive strained relationships in every quarter, not any outcomes such as these.
But you hit on something a second ago when you said, you take it at face value, but I remember back in school when they used to have us diagram sentences and we had to break them apart. This was a noun, this is a verb, this is an adverb, et cetera, et cetera. And I just looked at that and I said, well, they have like 4 different metrics here that they're all mashing together. And well, it's kind of like Mr. Creosote, put it all in a bucket. They did. They're taking it all and they're putting it all in one bucket. So if you break it down,
that reference.
it is one of the most watched programs on iPlayer, and there's several metrics here on iPlayer, and was a top 5, not top 3, not the top, but a top 5. So they're saying it's number 5 on Disney Plus globally. They're not saying when exactly, except for the week it aired. So there's several different metrics, as well as being the BBC's top drama. Hold on, there's a whole different metric right there for people under 35, a little bit broader metric this year, making it a broader metric, making it one of the biggest programs for the demographic, another metric, and across all streamers and broadcasters, which that's complete bullshit because, like you said, they don't have access to all that other stuff. So they're taking all of these different figures that they're not being specific with. They're throwing it in a bucket and they're bringing it to the big fat guy to eat. And the big fat guy is the media. And the media is going to go, oh yeah, this is great. We're going to lie to everybody anyway. So give us the lies and we'll spew them to everybody. So I'm just saying we are being fed a big line of bullshit here, but it's very, very distorted. It's contorted in many ways. So I don't buy anything.
I personally fall back of calling this bullshit. I'm sure that this is true, but I do believe every word has been very carefully chosen.
They definitely had the cobblers come in and craft it at midnight. Definitely.
You got to remember, they've still got a second series to put out. They're not gonna totally diss it, are they?
Well, they can't. They can't.
Excellent point.
No, they can't afford to.
They absolutely can't, because it's not like they're going to put it on the shelf and go, well, that didn't work, now did it? I mean, somebody's going to watch what's going to get put out. I would like to actually give it a go. There's 2 episodes I still haven't watched from this last season, but I'd like to give it a go just to see. I mean, if I throw my hands,
doesn't get any better.
No, I'm aware of that. Well, I'm not talking at the end. There's 2 in the middle that I missed, and I've been told for good reason.
Which ones?
Just
which episodes out of interest? Which ones?
I can't recall. There was the one
Rogue.
before. It was the one before the one where he and the guy were having a little romance. That's all.
Rogue.
Dot and Bubble?
No,
Is
it's Rogue.
You said the one before the guy.
It was the one before that one and that one. Those are the two that I missed.
I mean, Dot and Bubble. I like Dot and Bubble. I think Dot and Bubble's pretty solid, to be fair.
Is it? Okay, I'll have to
Yeah,
watch it.
I liked it as well. Yeah.
I'll get.
I had fun. I had fun with several episodes in the last season. As I'm always quick to say, I didn't hate it, but by the same measure, it wasn't everything that could have been by a long chalk. I've always been very measured in talking about the last season. I'm not going to claim that I didn't enjoy something when I did those simply because of how it may play or how it may line up with other people's tastes. Several episodes last year were to my taste to one extent or another.
Oh, for me, they were completely insulting. Every single episode was insulting. My intelligence. And I'm not the brightest bulb in the world, but I tell you what, I feel like I'm a genius now.
The one that I enjoyed the most, what was it called? 72 Yards, something like that.
Hated that one.
Yeah.
I'm the minority. I loved the first 15 minutes. I thought Welsh folk horror.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole,
and
folks.
then we just went off. I was like, it started with so much promise and then just dipped off. I was like, cool.
So just to backtrack here, this was the media kit from Disney Plus, where this was published, where they said that they claimed that Doctor Who remains one of the most popular programs on iPlayer, which, to be fair, judging by the Christmas ratings, certainly British ratings, they were pretty good. By the time it was all totted up, Doctor Who was number 4 of the Christmas period. That's not a bad showing at all, despite the fact the episode was absolute horseshit. Doctor Who remains one of the most watched programs on iPlayer and was a top 5 series on Disney Plus globally every week it aired. I think we just have to take that at face value. The deal is over anyway. So for whatever reason, for their own reasons, they are out. But we can't.
You know what?
We shouldn't read. I believe, Matt, that we shouldn't read anything either too positively or too negatively into this at all. I think we should simply accept it for what it is, for simply a media kit that goes out to the places these things are meant to reach, and pretty much move on with the conversation because it won't have changed the goddamn thing.
I agree, but if they end up being liars, then
I guess we'll never know. We've got no way of knowing.
This is what I'm saying. Even if they do, we'll find out later down the track.
I don't think
eventually.
I don't think we will.
I think we will eventually.
I think if it was the BBC, we may do because any data that's harvested, we've got to in Britain. We have to see it because of the public money. But Disney, they're a private organisation. They don't have to tell us. They didn't have to tell anybody this.
And they flubbed their numbers on a lot of stuff, and they've been caught lying too. And
have they?
What I'm saying is, if this show gets cancelled by the end of season 2, we know that they were bull-faced lying to us. We know. So this is what we'll just wait till it happens.
As I understand
I'm agreeing with you, Dan. Wait until it happens, and see how they treat their people this time around, their fans and everything, and how they talk to them, and how they say, "Hey, we're doing pretty well," and then when the shit hits the fan, I'll be going for undercover.
As I understand it, the BBC has every intention of recommissioning Doctor Who, but they will not do so if they want another global streaming platform. I think, as I say, this is very.
They had one, Dan, and they blew it.
Blew big time. I mean, obviously, we've heard various things. More on that maybe another time. But for the moment, Disney are out anyway. But there are obviously obligations. There's still, as the BBC said in their own statements, the Mirror, when the Sun article broke, there's still half of the episodes that made up that order yet to screen. So, like you said, Matt, why would they give bad publicity or daub any kind of motif, any kind of designation, any label that denotes failure on something which is yet to air.
Like they say, time will tell. And I think once this show airs, forget about the spin-off crap. But once the main show airs, and give it a month, and then we'll find out the truth. That's it.
Well,
We'll find out soon after. In July, is it? So.
Well, that's the good thing, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks now. They've basically given us a deadline. Like, basically given us a point of, after series 2, we will make a decision. Like, they've kept quite strong to that. So I think you're right. We will get some sort of plan of what they're doing after series 2. And now it's all about the PR game. It's all about having the flashy statements and the good statements out.
Trying to get people to look, to watch.
But with that note, I have to go, folks.
Yeah.
All right, Charlotte. We'll see you on Thursday for the big Who.
Bye-bye,
On Thursday. Good night. Bye-bye. So this is what Charlotte was referring to there. That's the piece in The Sun from around 4 weeks ago. The Sun made some pretty big claims. It was a thin article. Didn't seem like there was a great deal of substance to it. It seemed like a sort of combination of various things that they'd read on Facebook groups and heard us say out here in the fan base that they tried to make sort of gel. The BBC issued a statement to the Mirror later that same morning saying the story is incorrect. Doctor Who has not been shelved. But they say, as we have previously stated, the decision on season 3 will be made after season 2 airs. Now, what struck me the other day, and Charlotte, I'm glad that Charlotte brought this up, as I think it's an important point to end on. And Russell has said, we'll find out whether there's going to be a season 3 after season 2, blah, blah. We've assumed in the fan base, again, this is our own, including mine, our own sense of entitlement. We've assumed that, we'll all find out in June, July. They'll find out. There's no obligation on their part to tell us. It's it's their business, isn't it? They may not tell us anything until November, December, next year even.
Well, they may not, but we're still going to, one way or the other, we're going to get whispers of what's going on, because if Shooty is
somebody will talk.
Yeah,
we'll find out within a month. I can tell you that now.
We have ways of making them talk, don't we, Matt? We can get it out of them.
Look, I would pay for that.
Oh, there's a man in my bedroom.
That's the sort of Doctor Who that I'd probably go okay.
Anything could happen. No.
But bear in mind, this only hit me the other day, Luke, because just because they're going to know, they probably won't tell us. Why would they?
No, I think because you still got the spin-offs to come out as well, so they're gonna keep stum. I think the last I heard is like the scripts are done. They're gonna gear up to production is scheduled. I'm doing air quotes if you can't see me. Scheduled to roll in November, December time. Season 3 is a lock, but if they're gonna go with it, that's when it's scheduled in. It's penciled in towards the tail end of the year. If that's going to happen, who knows? We are going to get,
because the BBC would have you. The BBC would have us believe, wouldn't they, Luke, that they can't afford to make it without outside investment. And to be fair, they haven't made new Doctor Who since 2005. They've always had co-investors, co-producers on an international level, and they did for the TV movie too. Doctor Who hasn't been made without international money for decades. But the idea that BBC Studios can't afford to make Doctor Who to a reasonable standard, certainly the standard that Joy to the World and various other episodes lately have been, I think that's for the birds. I think it's very clear that BBC Studios can afford to make Doctor Who alone if they absolutely have to. But I think it's perfectly understandable that they won't want to, not only because they want to have the show looking a little bit better and for somebody to share the burden, but I think they also would want to after years of boasting about the global streaming platform, suddenly you haven't got one. How do you style that out? How do you front that? How do you make that look like a good thing?
Well, You do bring up a good point, though, Dan, because, you know, I do believe that they can afford it without others, because I know the stuff that I have done for my stupid little channel, and I don't do CGI or anything, but I do a lot of crazy effects and stuff just here in this little room. And if I can do that here, I know what those people can do with all of the money that they've got. So, and I'm doing it on no budget, and I'm talking zero, next to nothing. So I know that they can do what they can do with the money that they've got. So they don't need any help. They don't need
The
any
BBC have always pleaded poverty, certainly as long as I can remember.
Yeah, if you have a look as well, sorry, Dan, I'm going to touch on something we said. You asked me earlier, and I said I haven't listened to it, but I caught one. So when Russell was on Tennant's podcast, and they brought up him coming back, he said that Disney was already looking to partner with a streaming platform.
This is something that I want to come to on another edition of the show, because it's just I've been holding back talking about that.
Yeah, but it's that little section is like they brought Russell back because they wanted someone who's going to be able to deal with multiple executives, like thousands of executives at like a Disney. But if you look at the media pack, where are all those multiple executives that Russell's supposed to be dealing with? Because they're not listed there.
6.
See, I'm linking it back. I'm linking it back in a nice way. Just hear me out. Yeah, it's such a weird one. Like I was like, okay, but yeah, I think so. The BBC, well, the BBC is a very, very funny one, but it can afford to do it. But will they? I don't know. I think it is the Amazon thing is starting to pick up a bit of steam. And obviously they got Bond as well, and they want to do massive stuff with Bond. The rumor is they want the British IPs, and they've been after Doctor Who for a while. So, and they do they like, if you look at The Boys, they produce a good series, 8 episodes every other year. It's like fantastic. So they have pedigree, and they do know how to produce good shows. So if Amazon want it, let's bite the bullet of that, or Apple, because Apple produce great sci-fi. So either one of them, I'd be happy with to have them.
So would I.
Let them take it. Yeah,
I'd be happier if it were Apple, not Amazon.
Yeah, I get that.
And not just because I'm an Apple fanboy either.
Apple have.
I mean, Ted Lasso is my favorite show. So it's an Apple show. It's fantastic. No, I think either one. Apple's really great at producing sci-fi. Amazon just chucks money around like it's nothing. So it's a lot more than Disney. So who knows? Either one, really. Either one, I'm happy with. I think BBC could do it, and it'd be fine. And I think they could afford to do it. They didn't need to plead poverty all the time, but we'll see. It's very interesting.
If Amazon were to cock it up like they did with the Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power or Ring Around the Collar or whatever you want to call it,
they course corrected and they listened to the fans, and then season 2 was received.
Luke, it's one of those things that I said, okay, as bad as it has been presented, and I'm like, I'm I'm not going to watch it, and I'm not going to tune into season 2 because I would have to muddle through season 1 just to get to 2,
Yeah, no, but I think they did, because obviously they didn't shoot back to back, so they can listen to fans and kind of course correct. And season 2 has been touted as like some of the best Lord of the Rings content.
But did they have to really listen to fans when they actually had the source material to actually look at it? Not
really, but you look at the showrunners, people are coming through, and it's like, right, okay, are these the right people to be in charge of these shows at this right time? So I think it's an element of both, but I think at least Amazon have put out a season, it's failed, even though they spent millions on it, and then
most expensive TV show of all time. I hear.
Yeah, but at least they've put it out, looked to see, right, okay, this didn't work. What did work? What the fans want? And then season 2 course corrected. So it's like, right, okay, they have a precedence for actually listening to fan bases and actually putting on screen stuff that people will enjoy. So maybe that.
If Tolkien don't write it, I don't read it. I don't watch it.
But
no, I'm the same. I'm the same. But I understand Luke's. I understand the distinction that Luke's making.
I get it. Yeah. But you can derive something from the source material and do it properly, as opposed to, well, how are we going to cock this up? How are we going to get it for a modern audience? How are we going to make it for a modern audience? Whatever, So
I think the modern audience is over.
It is.
I have a funny feeling that they're not aiming for modern audiences anymore. I think that they're all scrambling at the moment.
And
I
when
don't
the
even
modern
know
audience
if
wasn't even watching themselves.
No, but I think I've lost my train of thought now.
Well,
But,
in light of the fact that we finally got to this topic and we've got several comments in the live chat, let's take a quick moment and connect with them and see which of our viewers there across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, what they've got to say about all of this so far, and what their inclinations about our judgments there about the Disney Media Press Kit there and the Doctor Who talk of the figures and the claims that have been made.
The universe is on the point of collapse. The Doctor and I have to save it, but you can help by watching time-rotor.
We're straight in with a bold claim from Lee Smith. Russell T Davies got greedy by blagging 2 seasons. I get the impression that 16 episodes, they're doing something with Daredevil at the moment, aren't they? And with Andor, whereby there's 18 episodes or something broken down into 2 blocks of 9. So this would seem to be a pre-established pattern. I think Andor's this year. It's coming back soon, isn't it? A couple of months.
Yeah, Andor's
real
back,
soon.
yeah.
And is there any excitement for it?
Yeah, Andor was received phenomenally
well. I've seen some.
But
and
a second series, really?
Yeah.
Well, they've been waiting for 3 years for this.
Yeah, people. The
They'll
fan base
return?
is there.
That's a good
the
point.
Fan base is there for the Andor.
Kyle and Kev are really excited about that, and there's a couple of people that we know. The rabbi from another planet, he's like mad keen for that as well. But yeah, it bored me to tears.
No nudity in that, Rabbi.
It bored me to tears. But there does seem to be a kind of appetite for it. Yeah, I was surprised too. Electric Bull is watching there on YouTube and says, I feel like Disney Plus is happy with the ratings of season 1, but they just want to see if season 2 can pull in the same figures as season 1 until they renew for another season. I guess we'll just have to wait. I mean, I think if Disney are not coming back to the table on this from everything I've been told, and the BBC have moved on, they're knocking other doors.
I honestly think that they've given them the money, and so they've just wanted to use all that money that they could to make the shows, and now they've cut and run because they've made their, like Russell and all them have made their money, and now they're going to cut and run. And Disney's got its content.
Bill
Because
Barker
it's going to stay there, isn't it? It's going to stay there after they move on.
Oh,
that series will be staying on Disney.
I don't know. I don't know if they can do that.
That's a good
They own half of it.
Well, they
I
wouldn't
don't know.
I like the episodes that aired on Max. That's one thing because that was already the BBC's, and if they wanted to move it just like they had it on Netflix before, etc., that's one
wait
thing.
for the rights to expire, and they move it lock stock.
They'd have the
Right.
distribution rights. They wouldn't own. The BBC is the owner.
No,
So
but
they
I
don't-
think that
I'm with what Matt says. I think because Disney, they're not gonna fork over the cash and then watch it just go away. I think
let's
they
put
have
it this way.
content.
Once look, Netflix made those Daredevil and Punisher shows with Marvel Studios. They're not on Netflix anymore, are they?
Right. But that's because Disney owned it. Now, yes, I know the BBC owns Doctor Who, but the BBC and Disney are two really different beasts. And
BBC is not that powerful.
Right.
It's not as powerful as Disney.
Yeah, Disney's an evil entity, man. So
Sony are though.
Read
Sony
the fine
are,
print for Disney. That's all I'll say. You got to read the fine print.
Do you think it's out of the question that Sony could eventually try and establish their own streaming platform? Maybe with Universal content.
I think it's possible because they,
with Paramount.
They own everything that Columbia has and everything. But at the same time, Sony's been distributing Bond for a long time. How come they don't own? How come they don't have control of Bond now? It's Amazon. Amazon that's got it.
Good point. Yeah.
I've seen a new Sony app on my PlayStation, so I don't know. I don't know if that's a new streaming service or what.
Amazon's got a hell of a lot more money than Sony does, and they were just like,
yeah,
give them what they want so that we can get them to shut the hell up and retire, and that's it. And then goodbye to Barbara.
Well, if you remember, like, since gaming and that, Sony's game division is a lot more profitable than their actual other things that they've done. So, for movies and that, so TV and all that. But now, because of the modern audience, that's also died off. So they're losing a lot of money, and I think they'll go back to movies. And TV series.
Sony's also course corrected there too. They're like, whoa, and like let's chuck this. Nobody wants it. So they were the first ones, because their overlords who are in Asia were the ones who are going, nope. If we're not making money, then we're going to cut this out.
We've got a comment here from Peter Harrington who reminds us that the 2005 series season 1 was originally co-produced with CBBC, I think, or CBC, Canadian broadcasters.
Yeah,
that's right.
If I'm right, Dan, that actually took a year for it to be broadcast over in Canada, didn't it? Or did
there was a delay, right?
Certainly, there was a big delay. And so a lot of the episodes, they were obviously put out on the internet and things like that and shared via various sources. Babette Bombshell with another outrageous claim, Babette. I don't mean to be rude, but this is bollocks. Russell T Davies will be fired and the BBC will collapse before Disney pulls its fangs out of Doctor Who as an IP. They've gone, Babette. They've walked away. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. You're wrong. You're wrong about where they stood with it in the 80s. I accept that you worked for Disney, but you're wrong. They were never after Doctor Who in the 80s. And no, they have pulled their fangs out of Doctor Who. To them, it is just content. It is just an arrangement. It was an ideal. Whatever outcomes that they have, it clearly hasn't fulfilled them. And the relationship didn't and hasn't worked for them. So according to the information that we have, across the board, Disney have pulled out their fangs from Doctor Who. I know you'll be back in a couple of weeks saying exactly the same thing, but it doesn't. I'm afraid you're wrong. I don't know what else to say. Didn't they say? Bill Barkley says, "Didn't they?" We can't keep going around the houses.
No, well, you know it better because you live in Britain, the home of Doctor Who, so you should.
And also, I've researched that exact point.
Yeah.
Didn't they once say there would be a Paul McGann series? Says Bill Barkley, and where was that? No, they never did. It was 100%. I hate to say this. This is one of the sides of Doctor Who. This was Doctor Who fandom. This was us putting the cart before the cart before the cart before the horse. It was entirely the invention of fandom, and we had this. And again, we broadcast responsibly here at Type 40. We don't just go for any old crap, anything that's floating around. This is entirely the invention of the Doctor Who fan community, and we have fun with that sort of stuff too, but it was complete pie in the sky. We'd all love a Paul McGann show, of course we would.
How many years has that been going for? Since 1996?
Well, there was a show you did about 2 or 3 years ago that was like all, if wishes were horses and rumors and stuff, and it was just like, let's have fun with the rumors. And I thought that was a fun one just to watch, because it was just like, none of this is ever going to come to fruition, but what if? And that was my number one wish. I would love to see an 8 episode Paul McGann run would be good enough for me to go, yay, Paul got his due. So
yeah, and that's as if they'd redo the Timeless Child thing and like get rid of all that and that. And that's rubbish. And they're living in a totally fantasy world. They're never ever redo anything that's gone before. They won't.
Lots more claims about Russell T Davies, which I can't possibly read out in the live chat. Psychedelic mushrooms, says the Peter Venkman fan site. Schmedia kit, says Lee Smith, to a certain degree of I say we felt that we had to talk about this. We wanted to talk about this because we know it's travelled quite considerably. But I did want to leave it to cool off a little because there was a lot of people talking about it and kind of seeing what they wanted to see in it. And this was places like Screen Rant, the Radio Times, as well as people within the community at various different levels across all manner of media. and sometimes it's best I believe it's best sometimes to just sit back and see where the rubble falls.
I always wait for the shill media to say something, and if it's not as glowing as what they normally spit out, then I'm actually taking it seriously because that's the only way that I can see if they're being truthful or not.
Scott
Things
is
like
right,
Deadline and Variety and that,
I tend to put more by Deadline. I'd say Deadline, Variety, and those kind of more slightly more prestigious, I suppose. That cluster of titles are all published by the same people, whereas the Hollywood Reporter and all those places are pretty much tabloids with fancy banners. So they've got a certain. I don't even want to use the word legacy, but they have a certain. They've got standards. The impression that they get, they've got old-fashioned standards whereby they will check. They will cite things. Variety own Deadline, as I understand it, and Deadline have been pretty even in their coverage of Doctor Who. It's been free of any sort of subjective editorialization. So I'm only judging based on their Doctor Who content. And to be honest, every time I go to that site, I see bare-boned information for the most part. So again, I don't tend to look at many of those websites anymore, but when I do, it tends to be Deadline that give it to you the straightest. David Milling says that Scott is right. They are mashing lots of statistics together or with massively different variables and presenting them as one. I mean, to be fair, again, thank you, David. What people do to spin statistics, but harvesting a figure to publish an aggregate, that's not necessarily a deception. But I think it's something that we should be aware of, though, that it's a very particular data point, isn't it?
And I hope my wife is still watching because it says Scott is right there. I just wanted to point out. So
Disney Plus want increasing subscriptions. They do. And they look at these things as a portfolio. They don't think, oh, that's a show. It's a lovely show. Got a lovely fan base. It's been around all these years. They don't care. They look at their portfolio of what they've got, what's meeting expectations, what they've got that serves various demographics, what the overlap is, what the relationships are like between the people they've got to deal with. Is it a ball ache or not? That's what people weigh up. That's what gets weighed up in all manner of business. And sometimes people cut their losses, and that could be financial, bare-bone financial losses. Sometimes it could be other kinds of losses. Sometimes some things just aren't worth losing sleep over.
Well, as Luke was saying earlier,
they're just not going to worry about the money that they've spent on the show. It's spending more money on another show that they would be more concerned about.
Right. Well, like Luke was saying earlier, people are not consuming media the way that they used to, and as we were all saying, now it's content on their platform. Yeah. So if this were the 70s or the 80s or the 90s, and Doctor Who was on ABC on commercial television, and the people paying the bills, who are the people paying for the commercials, those brands,
the sponsors.
Yeah, if those sponsors are not getting the numbers from their products, then ABC, who is technically owned now by Disney and has been for a long, long time, they'd be going, "Oh, Doctor Who sucks. We got to get it out of here." But now, since it's on a streaming platform, it's on there in perpetuity for however long that they've contracted it to be there. So it doesn't matter if it does well, because the sponsor is now you and me and our wallet. And how many people are out there who are paying for Disney Plus month after month, or they've bought it annually and they're not even watching now? It doesn't matter if they watch.
Disney Plus won't have invested any more money in Doctor Who or any more further time in Doctor Who than they were prepared to lose. It will have been a calculated, not risk as such, but it would have been a calculated investment, a modest one.
Well, sure.
In line with a possible outcome. They wouldn't have invested any more than they were prepared to lose on a project. We noticed this a few weeks ago, Luke, the change of the language surrounding this. It's now people on the BBC side. Julie Gardner has described this as, it's been an experiment. The experiment has been.
Russell called it an experiment.
They've all used the word experiment, and experiments reach conclusions.
Yes.
And if they've started using that word.
So I just did a bit of digging. I'll see if I can ping across earlier. So I found a little press release when it first got announced, just of them just tying it back. So it says Disney does not own the rights to Doctor Who from the 2023 specials in season 1 and 2. The BBC retains full ownership of Doctor Who outright, including classic and modern. Disney does not own any seasons. BBC retains full ownership and creative control, but will have some input from Disney. But Disney, for however long it is, have the exclusive streaming rights for the series outside of the UK and Ireland from the 2023 special onward. So they don't own it. So essentially, those streaming rights will expire.
Right. You've got to remember too, though. This is season 1 and 2.
Right, but does it say how long those streaming rights will be? So that's. I mean, it could be 5 years. It could be 5 years. It could be until just the end. You know,
and that would include the War Between the Land and the Sea as well, because for them it's one commission.
As far as the order, it's part of the order.
Well, interestingly though, like you said, Dan, you know, it's not so much a risk. It's like they've already allocated the money and it's been put out. And you know me, I like to throw out a fairly odd analogy occasionally. It's kind of like when we all decide that it's time for us to go to the store and buy toilet paper. You know, we've allocated X amount of money on something that we're going to throw away. You know, we're going to flush it, and that's, I think that's the best way to put it when it comes to something that is, you know, going to be flushed. Now, if it's a bottle of wine you're going to be buying, and if you're making an investment on a 55 Margaux and you're going to put it on your shelf, then that's a completely different allocation because it's going to increase in value and it's eventually going to have a return. So it just depends upon what that product is going to be when it's purchased and when it's produced. You know, do you need more toilet paper, or do you need another fine wine to put on your shelf?
Yep, that's spot on.
The eternal question.
Paper. I love it.
See what you've done, Russell. See what you've done to us, Russell.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's it. That's the Disney Media press kit there. This is completely accessible to anybody. The link is there for anybody to click. It's in the description to the video as well, and it's all out there. They publish these things as an everyday occurrence. So this isn't just Doctor Who. This is across the board. There, it's not. They haven't published this under any kind of pressure at all. It's all above board, and it is what it is, as we're fond of saying here. They've fallen shy of publishing any actual figures, of course, or even a ballpark figure. But breaking silence on this matter, even in fluff like this, in the run up to the next season, you know, we had to note this and we had to talk about it and explore it a little. We know that a great many people, yes, the series was shit. We know that, and who wants to watch it anyway? Yeah, that's a different conversation. This is a broader conversation about the parameters of the deal, as was between Bad Wolf, BBC Studios, and Disney Plus. There, So Doctor Who remains one of the most watched programs on iPlayer and was a top 5 series on Disney Plus globally. Every week it aired. That's what they're claiming, as well as being the BBC's
also,
top drama for under 35s. No, they mean no, they do mean
the new one.
No, they will specifically mean.
Okay.
I think it's very clear. They specifically mean this actual material in that given week that would have premiered on that platform. I think that's pretty crystal. Obviously in Britain, the advertising machine is about to kick in for season 2. It starts on Saturday, the 12th of April, on the iPlayer. How the BBC are going to market it their end this time, I have no idea, because they didn't do a brilliant job last year. Are they going to give it a big push?
They had it on a double-decker bus. God.
ultimately the buck stops with them. This is their property long term. It's forever associated with them. It's still their most valuable brand. They've buggered up everything else they ever had that was worth a lot of things like Top Gear. So
I knew you were
they
gonna
have
bring
to
that up.
hold the course. They have to hold the course with this. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Saturday, the 12th of April. So it's about 3 to 4 weeks away now. Time is ticking down until the insanity begins again. We'll be covering as much of it as we can, as quickly as we can. And these external or extraneous matters, things get published elsewhere. They are relevant. They do have a bearing on regards the long-term conversations and discussions we've been having here at Type 40 Live and Type 40 now for a number of years. So we'll keep coming back to them at the junctions that we feel are appropriate. But by all means, drop us a comment there and let us know your thoughts both on the information in the press kit and the conversation we've been having, as well as we wait for Saturday, the 12th of April. And of course, let us know whether you're in or whether you are, or whether you're out.
You're watching Type 40. Stupid tune anyway.
That guy cracks me up. Friend of Simon Horn. The talent, dedication, and craftsmanship out here in the Who fandom is second to none. There's never any shortage of these pretty pictures to distract us from our everyday lives as we scroll away for the pudding brains that we are. And we've always done everything we can to encourage and showcase Doctor Who fan art and fan artists here in our gallery segment. It's all in a valiant effort to fill up these virtual TARDIS walls, these big grey walls there. Oh my God, every time I look at this, I just like more and more, Scott. We want traditional art and digital art, model makers and cosplayers. There's plenty of room for your work too. Of course there is. We just want as much creativity as we can possibly get our eyes on to make all the rest of it a little less painful. Really. Yeah. Send it our way, or us its way. We don't care how it works as long as we get some of that fan art. And this time, I thought we'd take a look at this one. Matt, I think you're going to like this. This is a mashup of comic book greats here. We've got Judge Dredd meets the Doctor Who in a piece by Chris Weston. I just love this. Everything, the colours to the body language, the look on Tom Baker's, and Judge Dredd's face too. Just brilliant.
Yes, it's nice.
Look at the detail.
Yes.
Look at the Dalek gun, Matt. Dalek gun.
I'd have that up on my wall. I would.
I just watched Dredd again last week.
Which one? Carl Urban or
Carl Urban?
Stallone?
Yeah, Carl Urban. Because I actually I own that one digitally and on Blu-ray, but or DVD one. But I don't have the Stallone one. I'd like to get it.
Oh, if only we could see those Daleks on screen. That'd be fantastic.
That's great.
If only we could see Daleks on screen.
of any kind.
No, well,
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the. I like the fact that it used the older style of Dalek than these other
with pouches. Looks a bit like Cyclops from the X-Men or Cable. One of those, lots of pouches around the middle.
Oh yeah, that's very Rob Liefeld thing.
Yeah,
His pouches on everything.
That's great.
Stephen Braddock thinks it's superb, and Bill Barkley says, "I'd love a model of that Dredd Dalek." Yeah, of course. And Lee Smith says it would be a cool custom action figure. But this does remind me of well, I suppose because he was a 2000 AD artist, it reminds me of Dave Gibbons and people like that in that initial crop of artists that worked on Doctor Who Weekly at the same time that 2000 AD was first setting up. I just think it's the perfect mashup.
When are we going to get an Absalom Dark, the Dalek spin-off? When are we going to get that?
Even if it was just a TV movie, I would love that.
No,
made by Neil Marshall or Stephen Knight or somebody like that. Bloody hell.
Absolutely.
Insane in the membrane, says Lisa. Speak for yourself. Oh, Babette Bombshell isn't happy with me. I've got to tell it like it is, Babette. You know, you keep saying the same thing. The answer's not going to change. I'm not going to tell you that you're right when I know that you're wrong. I respect you more than that. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry.
But we do like differing opinions, and that's fine.
Yes, it's a home to all opinions. But when I know that something's fact, I'm not. You know, I can't just sit here and say yes. Oh, you could be.
Absolutely.
You're right. When you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Everybody's wrong now and again. You're wrong. Nice, says Peter Venkman, fan site. Yeah, I think this is really nice. And Andrew says, I'm sending him around the twist as usual. Never mind, Andrew. The results may vary. Sleep well, mate. Dalek Killer spin-off, says Lee Smith. Yeah, I'd like that.
Yes.
Dan, are you sure that you read that one correctly that Lee Smith said? Because I believe that was insane in the membrane. You have to say it like that, yeah.
Very good.
Well, when will Transformers do a Doctor Who crossover figure? Either a TARDIS or a Dalek? I think there has been a TARDIS. I think there has been. But I could be wrong. Maybe it was a custom. Could have been a custom thing.
I'd love to see Soundwave as a Dalek.
I will. What else? Yeah, we've got laughing faces. This is the way, says Adrian. Yes, so people seem to like this. I love it as well. And yeah, anything that gets in touch with that particular time in comics history, I'm all for that. I'm also in awe of people who do custom work on figures. And yes, someone has gone at the new Third Doctor Vortex figure already.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
A little
that's cool.
A spearhead from space variant. So what differences can you spot there, Luke? You immediately said how much you like that. What can you spot?
Oh, well, there's a nice little hat going on. I think the paintwork is really nice. It just seems like it'd be nice for like a regeneration set of every Doctor just as in their first set of clothes, and I just think it suits it, doesn't it? Don't get me wrong, I think the figure's great as is, but yeah, it just sets it off. It's just the blue blazer, the hat, his hair's a bit darker, he looks a bit more defined. It's really nice.
I'm glad he got rid of the hat.
Every time I see Spearhead from Space in a new format or newly pimped out, bear in mind I haven't watched the Blu-ray box set yet, the latest version, I notice a little more about what he's wearing. In the original VHS, it just looked like the Third Doctor was completely dressed in black, and you just got a little flash of the red every now and again. But when you're able to see it remastered, you can see the different textures to the costume, the slight colour variations, which this is an account on X, Doctor Who Custom 5.5. They do a lot of this kind of stuff. So as well as setting it off with the trilby that he adjusts when looking in the mirror in Wood Norton, they've put that on there. You've got all the other little touches as well. So he's painted the tie jet black too, and there's an Auton.
The nesting, the blob. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a cough lolly. Oh. You don't know what a lolly is. That's okay. It's a sweet.
Yeah, of course we do. Lee Smith claims that Russell Gummidge was a Doctor Who spin-off. The Doctor was stranded on Earth and disguised as a scarecrow. Do you think? So we've got an extra 4 seasons of Doctor Who. Is that what you're saying? 6 if you include Russell Gummidge Down Under. I like it. That purple gumdrop of doom for the nesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, so I really like this, and sincerely, I mean, the people who've got the steady hand and the imagination and the time to do this, I mean, admiration. So please, go and hit up Doctor Who 5.5 Custom over on X if you do like this, and see their other stuff as well, because there's lots of this kind of thing, as well as special scenes with action figures too. So go and find them, as well as Chris Weston and his fabulous Judge Dredd Doctor Who mashup there that we were looking at earlier on. Please go and hit them up and say that Type 40 Live sent you. We'd like more. Of course we would. Why wouldn't you? And these walls are so bloody big and so damn grey. We need more fan art to stick up, to festoon the TARDIS with. So send it our way, or us its way. We don't really mind how it works, as long as it works. And it nearly always works for us. We very rarely see fan art that we don't like. And these are big, big walls. So keep them coming by all means, you can get in touch with us through our social media. As always, that's Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. Come and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group, where I hear it's all kicking off in there this evening. I hope you're having fun over there. Go and join the discussion, join the argument over there in the Type 40 Facebook group, and send us your fan art by all means. Feedback to this conversation and the other 200, 300, 400 that we've had here across the podcasts and live streams. You can send them to us now on SpeakPipe, new for 2025. Be part of Type 40 from the palm of your hand. Ooh. Yeah, send us a recorded message over there. A question, a prediction, a rant, or a rave. Any feedback of any kind is greatly appreciated, including you, Babette. There's always some fun to be had there across the social media, so have at us anytime. They're throwing down the gauntlet. Luke, so yes, recap, mate. So you've got your screening for, so this is for the film, the Time Machine film, as well as Hooligans. That's just been announced tonight.
Yes, so we're off to Port McGee, or it's Acto in Last of the Jedi. It's Skywalker Island. We're going there May the 4th, because of course it's a May the 4th film festival. So we're going there. Hooligans, the entire series is playing. I Made the Time Machine is playing. Myself, Mr. Carley. I'm presuming he's coming. I haven't spoken to him yet. I'm guessing he's coming. But we're going over there. John. Yeah, John's going. He knows he is. But we're all going over there. The Time Machine is currently being screened as part of the Liftoff Festival, which is, you can buy tickets to watch it online. There's loads of great selections there, based all in Manchester and around the world. We're just about to start work on I Made the Invisible Man, which is the last of the I Made H.G. Wells film trilogy. Yeah, Hooligans, the series finale for Hooligans is coming out very, very soon. I think part 1 is coming out April 12th, because there's nothing else coming out that day. And there'll be why not? Any publicity is good publicity. And there'll be a trailer out within the next 2
Clash
weeks.
of the Titans.
Exactly. A mad Welshman with his own series that went a bit mad with it. Mad. Who knew? Well, I didn't get many Russell T Davies comments tonight, so that was nice. That was a nice change of pace.
I think we're moving past it. We're moving past it.
Yeah,
Thank you as always for your time, Luke. Always great to catch up with you. Dr. Scott, good to see you for the first time in 2025, mate. Hopefully not the last either. What have you got planned for the next couple of weeks, and where can people find you on social media, and what's going on with you on YouTube?
Well, mostly you'll find me on YouTube, and that's at Game Closet. And I do have my daughter's little channel. It's called Harley Fractic's Hideout, where there's a few PCB Way spots on there for PCB Way, which is a company that makes PCBs. And I did start another channel, which is only for just full game playthroughs, and it's just called Dr. Scott's Game Vault. So you won't find me on there. There's no commentary, nothing. You just want to watch a game playthrough all the way. Nobody on screen or no streaming or anything like that. So if you want to see any games that I've played through or anything like that, that's on there. But on my channel, though, the insanity that goes on my channel, we have a video that I'm working on right now, which is for game show video games. And you'll be seeing me putting on my crocodile smile and a wig for that. And I'll be playing a game show hosting that. So we'll be getting out the green screen for that. So anything we can do to get a good laugh and toss it in there. And then we're going to be doing another episode. We're going to be doing our second part of Knight Rider, the video game. Of course, in your neck of the woods, you guys got Knight Rider, the video game, parts 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 2, but we didn't get them here. Yeah, that was way back when the PlayStation 2 was in its heyday. So I did part 1 last summer, and that's actually the most popular video on my channel. And you get to see me riding around inside of Kit, and we solve some mysteries while I'm actually playing the game, and I do a review of the game. And then I get kidnapped at the very end of that by Carr, the evil prototype of Kit. And we're going to see what happens this spring when we find out who kidnapped me and why.
You can never have too much fun, can you?
No, I like to have fun. That's for sure. But yeah,
the fun may stop on April the 12th when Doctor Who returns to the TV screens. Scott,
might.
hope you'll come back and tell us what you think. Will you be watching? Have you caught the trailers? Will you be watching the series when it comes back?
I wasn't a fan of the trailer. There were a couple of things that intrigued me, but I wasn't very impressed. But I am going to watch. Yes.
Good stuff. You can come back anyway. Of course you can, but it's always good to know these things. Again, Scott, thank you for your time as ever. It's great to catch up with you.
Thanks for having me.
Our real life time traveler, Matt Pott, there. Tuesday morning already for you. I know.
Yes.
You've got a trip. You're going away soon. I know. Been good
Week
to
and a
catch up.
half.
Week and a half, yeah. Planning and plotting, no doubt. Yeah, but it's been a good one. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Is that for me? So yeah. I'm going to watch some Christmas specials now in the middle of March because that's what people do. Don't forget to follow me on my channel, Matt Pott. I will be doing an Avengers special. This is like not Marvel Avengers. I'm talking about good stuff. I'm talking about 60s UK Avengers. So nice. Steed and Peel. So I'm watching that for the first time. So I'm really, really enjoying it actually. Once I finish here, I'm going back to it. Sorry?
I didn't realise you hadn't seen it before.
I haven't seen a lot of the Emma Peel ones, and I haven't seen a lot of the I haven't seen any of the Tara King. So I'd only seen a few, but I'm absolutely loving it. It's called entertainment, and that's what we need.
I can't wait to find out what you thought of them, Matt Pott, at YouTube. It's one of our links there on the channel. You'll find him in our channel associates, and you can find Matt on X there at that link. That does wrap it up for another show. Yes, so we've been across Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook as ever with lots of Doctor Who talk here. Join us again on Thursday for the Big Who hot takes, cold shoulders, pet peeves, bouquets, and pot shots. As ever, don't miss that. The show continues to evolve, and we bring you the best in news, views, nostalgia, discussions, and banter from 8 p.m. this Thursday, as always. Yes, so what we're going to do between now and then, though, well, I think we could probably have a good old run around. This place. Yeah, we might trip over one of those barriers, I suppose. But we'll do our best there. Don't tell health and safety. And we'll see you next time. We always have the time if you have the space at Type 40 Live. Cheers again for your company, everybody. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.